my arrogant beauty bodyguard. Songyuan City, Beihai Park, after 8 p.m. Huzi, have you remembered what I told you? Zhang Chen asked in a low voice. Brother Chen, I'm a little scared. Do you think this is a crime? Will I be arrested and put in jail for a few years? I still have to support my sister's schooling and my mother's. Zhang Chen covered Huzi's mouth with his hand. Bar. Don't make up stories for me. How can I not know about your family's affairs? Will you do it with a box of Das Honghua? Huzi looked at Zhang Chen hesitantly, obviously not satisfied. Zhang Chen gritted his teeth. 3 boxes, damn it, if you don't do it, I'll go back to find Shouhou. Hehe, don't, Brother Chen, Shouhou can't do this job with his physique. Huzi smiled with a mean face. Okay, don't waste time, take this, the people will be here in a few minutes. Huzi, I tell you, if you mess this up for me, you won't be able to smoke my cigarettes in the future. Zhang Chen said as he put black stockings on Huzi's head. Oh my god, Brother Chen, what kind of prop is this? It tastes good. Nonsense, do I have inferior goods here? I just bought the original one online. You can see the road by punching 2 holes here. Turn it around and let me see. Zhang Chen nodded with satisfaction. It really looks like that. Hehe, everything is ready. Fang Xianyo, I guarantee you will be moved to tears and throw yourself into the arms of this handsome guy. Brother Chen, is that the girl riding a bicycle over there? Huzi pushed Zhang Chen, who was still grinning, and asked. Zhang Chen was shocked and returned to reality. He hurriedly looked towards the path in the park. In the dim light, he saw a slender figure riding a bicycle coming over. She was wearing a school uniform and her ponytail was swaying from side to side. Who else could it be but Fang Xiaoyar? Damn, what are you daydreaming about? Hurry up. Zhang Chen kicked Huzi out with 1 foot. Take this with you. Can you be more professional? Zhang Chen quickly stuffed the plastic machete to Huzi. The knife shone coldly under the streetlight, which was more intimidating than the real knife. Fang Xiaoyar was really scared when she saw a man with a knife flashing out of the bushes. Huzi just stood in the middle of the road with a knife in his hand, saying nothing. He was wearing stockings on his face, and it was hard to tell what his expression was. Zhang Chen secretly admired Huzi. He was quite good looking. He was more than 1.8 meters tall and weighed nearly 200 kilograms. With a machete, it would be strange if Fang Xiaoyar didn't piss herself. Hehe, just wait for me to come and save the beauty. But he didn't know how miserable Huzi was now. Fang Xiaoyar was confused, but seeing the gangster standing there without moving, she slowly put down her bicycle, and then ran desperately behind, shouting for help. There were not many people in the park at this time, but this girl ran fast. While Huzi was stunned, she ran more than 20 meters away. Wang Shouhou, you idiot, chase me. Zhang Chen roared in a low voice and jumped out of the bushes. Wang Shouhou also reacted and chased after him with a big knife. Fang Xiaoyar looked back frequently. She was exhausted. The gangster behind her was about to catch up, and from the sound, there were accomplices behind her. She shouted at the top of her lungs, but there was no one around. Was she really going to be killed by them? Thinking of the terrible things, she even wanted to die. Suddenly, a figure appeared in front of him, wearing the uniform of Minghua High School. Fang Xiaoyar opened her arms, and the boy stopped his bicycle and stared at her in surprise. Help, please save me. Fang Xiaoyar hid behind the boy as if she had grabbed the last straw. After all, the boy was wearing the uniform of Minghua High School, which was more reliable than the gangster. At this time, the boy saw a big man wearing black stockings and carrying a shining machete running over. He almost burst out laughing. This robber is too good. He parked his bicycle leisurely, and Huzi also ran up to him. Seeing a boy suddenly appear, Huzi became more nervous. Who are you? Don't meddle in other people's business here, Huzi shouted, but he was a little lacking in confidence. The boy smiled. Dude, you are so unprofessional. You wear your stockings backwards. The lace edge should be facing backwards. Huzi was stunned. No wonder he felt something was wrong. It turned out to be backwards. While Huzi was stunned, the boy's eyes suddenly became sharp. He jumped in front of Huzi in 2 steps and punched Huzi in the stomach. Bang! Ouch! Huzi squatted down, holding his stomach. Fang Xiaoyar stared at the boy's back in amazement. She didn't expect that this seemingly handsome scholar would knock the gangster to the ground with one punch. That's not all. The boy raised his foot and kicked Huzi on the head. Huzi staggered and fell backwards. At this time, Zhang Chen arrived, and Huzi fell into Zhang Chen's arms. Zhang Chen! Why is it you? Fang Xiaoya screamed. Chapter 2, Master Wuyar. Fang Xiaoya stared at Zhang Chen in disbelief. Although Zhang Chen often skipped classes, smoked, and fought, his behavior was rebellious, she still couldn't believe he would get involved in something like this. Zhang Chen quickly released his grip on Huzi, who fell onto the grass with a loud cry. Xiaoya, it's not what you think. I just happened to pass by and saw him chasing you, so I followed him, Zhang Chen said hurriedly. Zhang Chen, do you think I'm stupid? Fang Xiaoya screamed. You piece of trash, if you want to chase a girl, do it the honest way, not with these despicable tricks. The boy looked at Zhang Chen in disgust. You and your whole family are trash. What is it to you? Zhang Chen, who had originally planned a prank, didn't he expect to be misunderstood by Fang Xiaoya? He didn't dare to lose his temper with her, but this strange person in front of him was clearly pushing the wrong buttons. However, he forgot just how terrifying this stranger's combat ability was. The next moment, Zhang Chen felt a powerful force strike his abdomen. His feet lifted off the ground, and his body flew backward. He flew a good 2 meters. His internal organs churned violently, and even his breath became shallow. Let alone standing up, he could hardly move. Call the police, let them handle this, the boy said to Fang Xiaoya. Huzi, hearing this, quickly yanked off his stocking. No. Xiaoya, we were just playing a prank. Wang Shouhou. Fang Xiaoya's eyes widened in shock. Wang Shouhou lowered his head, deeply embarrassed. This was just too humiliating. After a brief silence, Fang Xiaoya finally spoke, forget it, let us go. The boy shrugged. My name is Bai Zhanfei, I'm from class 12 of Minghua High School, if you want to get revenge, don't go after the wrong person. You've been scared out of your wits. Let me give you a ride home, Bai Zhanfei said to Fang Xiaoya with a gentlemanly smile. Fang Xiaoya nodded lightly, thanks a lot. The two of them gradually walked away, not even glancing at the two people lying on the ground. Zhang Chen struggled to get up, wiped the dirt off his face, and looked at their retreating figures. That boy's position should have been his. Bai Zhanfei, why does that name sound so familiar? Zhang Chen muttered. Damn, bro, you got hit in the head. That's the top dog of our senior year. How are we supposed to show our faces at school now? Huzi said, incredulous. Zhang Chen slapped his forehead. He did indeed know of Bai Zhanfei. But no matter who he was, anyone who stole his woman was unforgivable. In Zhang Chen's mind, Fang Xiaoya was already his girlfriend. After Zhang Chen and Wang Xiaohu left, a middle-aged man and a young girl emerged from the nearby woods. The man had an extraordinary presence, while the girl had an alluring figure, though her expression was somewhat cold. Boss, is this the person you want me to protect? The girl frowned as she asked. Sigh, little yellow sparrow, you just need to make sure he stays safe. As for the rest, don't worry about it, the man sighed, somewhat disapproving of Zhang Chen's actions. Back at home, Zhang Chen tossed his dirty clothes onto the couch and headed upstairs. Lying on his bed, he stared at the ceiling, lost in thought. Why am I such a failure? Why am I just some delinquent who smokes, fights, and skips class? Why do I always lose fights? I want to be a top student. I want to be a hero. But is it my fault? He continued to scream inside his mind, deeply disturbed by the events of the day. Outside, the wind howled, and the curtains fluttered wildly. Suddenly, with a creak, the window opened, and a beam of white light flashed into the room. Zhang Chen sat up in a jolt, feeling his hair stand on end. An elderly man in white stood at the head of his bed, smiling at him. Boom! A thunderous crack sounded from the sky, and Zhang Chen jumped in shock. Are you a person or a ghost? Zhang Chen asked, his voice trembling. The old man calmly stroked his beard and replied, I am a human, of course. I sensed your unusual bone structure and prolonged aura. You're naturally gifted for cultivation. How much do you want? Just say it, don't try to pull this stunt on me, Zhang Chen replied sarcastically, thinking it was some kind of scam. The old man's expression faltered, and he shook his head with a bitter smile. You think I'm kidnapping you? Many people have paid vast sums of money to invite me, kneeling and begging for me to teach them. If I didn't develop an interest in you, I'd be deeply hurt by this. Suddenly, the old man reached out and pressed his finger on Zhang Chen's mute point, then effortlessly lifted him overhead. I am Master Weir, with powers that can reach heaven and earth. Do you wish to become my disciple? Zhang Chen struggled in mid-air, unable to speak, his terror mounting. When he heard the old man's words, he quickly nodded, though inside he thought, a smart man doesn't eat the loss in front of him. You old fool, I'll find a chance to call the police and lock you up. Master Weir nodded and released Zhang Chen, letting him drop back to the ground. If anyone else knew that Master Weir used this method to take on disciples, they'd laugh their heads off. Weir unsealed Zhang Chen's mute point, and Zhang Chen coughed a few times, holding his neck. He then turned his eyes toward the old man and asked, if I learn your skills, will I be able to defeat Bai Zhanfei from our school? The moment he said it, Zhang Chen regretted it. The old man probably didn't even know who Bai Zhanfei was, so he quickly added, he's the top guy in our school. He's the type who can kick people flying with one kick. Hearing this, Master Weir's beard bristled in anger. He glared at Zhang Chen for a long while before finally saying, you'll be able to beat him. Chapter 4, This is a reward from me. Hiss. After hearing this, many people gasped, is this Zhang Chen crazy? Even Fang Xiaoyar looked up at him in astonishment. Brother Chen, are you crazy? Sit down quickly. That's Sun Nan, Wang Shouhou said, pulling his clothes from behind. What are you guys doing? Don't you know it's time for class? Their head teacher walked in aggressively. Sun Nan and the others clenched their fists and stared at Zhang Chen, wishing they could swallow him up. However, since the class teacher was there, the few people had to give up. No matter what the teacher said, Zhang Chen listened to him as if he was listening to a foreign language. He simply lay on the table. Others were already used to him. Zhang Chen had to sleep for at least 7 of the 8 classes a day. Their head teacher on the podium glanced at Zhang Chen, who was lying on the table, but ignored him. Just as I was about to fall into a deep sleep, I suddenly thought of the dream I had last night. As soon as I thought about it, a lot of information emerged in my mind. No headache like yesterday, and today's content is much clearer. It turns out to be the 5 Emperors concentration technique and the 5 Emperors fist technique. One strengthens the mind, and the other strengthens the body. It's exactly what I need right now. Of course you can't practice the 5 Emperors fist in class, but you can study the 5 Emperors concentration technique. Hehe, I didn't expect that the old man was so thoughtful. He was afraid that I wouldn't understand it, so he just left the secrets in it for me, saving me a lot of effort. The bell rang for the end of get out of class, and Zhang Chen was still lying on the table. This 5 Emperors concentration technique is really complicated. Even with the secrets left by the old man, I have only just begun to learn it. But it seems to be of some use now. He was just about to continue practicing the 5 Emperors mind concentration technique when he felt someone patting him hard. He looked up and saw Sun Nan and several of his lackeys looking at him with contempt. I forgot about these grandchildren. Let's go to the toilet. Do you want to go by yourself or do you want us to help you? Sun Nan said proudly. I had the same idea. Zhang Chen stood up and walked out without hesitation. Damn it, is Zhang Chen crazy? There are so many people like Brother Nan, and he dares to go there. Maybe your skin is itching after not getting beaten for a few days. Zhang Chen just smiled when he heard this. These fence-sitters who only bully the weak and fear the strong will soon be looked at with new eyes. Seeing Sun Nan and others walk into the toilet, the students who were smoking inside came out tactfully. Mengzi, Dalong, guard the toilet door. Sun Nan looked at Zhang Chen with a ferocious expression. You are a brave boy. No one dares to scold me like this in the 2nd year of high school. Hehe, you get the guts after I scold you a few times. I'm just doing it by the way. Otherwise, you idiots are not worth my scolding, said Zhang Chen, not taking these people seriously at all. There was a commotion among the people watching the excitement outside. Zhang Chen had given them too many shocks today. Who was Sun Nan? Although he followed Bai Zhanfei, few people in the 2nd year of high school dared to offend him. Sun Nan was furious and punched Zhang Chen. He was a member of the school sports team, had a muscular body and great explosive power. Several of his men wanted to let Sun Nan vent his anger, so they smoked and sneered at Zhang Chen. Just one punch from Sun Nan was enough to knock Zhang Chen down. But the next moment, they opened their eyes wide, and heard a bang, and Sun Nan flew backwards and hit the toilet door. There happened to be no one inside, so he fell in the toilet. Oh my god, I didn't see it wrong, can anyone tell me what's going on? Why didn't I see Zhang Chen make a move, but Sun Nan fell down? Did Sun Nan do it on purpose? It's very possible. Could it be that their class is rehearsing some kind of show? People from other classes who were watching the fun started talking about it. Sun Nan was almost mad when he heard these comments. How could they perform a show like this? His stomach churned and he stood up, resisting the urge to vomit. The people at the toilet door suddenly stepped back a distance, and even Sun Nan's younger brother subconsciously took a step back, because Sun Nan's body was covered with feces and urine. The most disgusting thing was that someone didn't flush the toilet, and Sun Nan's left cheek was covered with feces and urine. He raised his hand and wiped it on his face. It was as disgusting as it could be. This scene made Zhang Chen feel very disgusted, but he felt relieved in his heart, because Sun Nan often bullied him. Hey, aren't you by Zhanfei's dog? This shit is a reward from me, don't be polite, enjoy it. Chapter 5, Man of Destiny. When Sun Nan heard what Zhang Chen said, his nose became crooked with anger. Are you all idiots? Come on. Sun Nan's younger brothers hesitated for a moment and then rushed forward. Bang! He kicked them one by one, and within a few seconds, several people fell to the ground wailing. Even if Zhang Chen had not started practicing the 5 Emperor's Fist, these people would not be his match. How could a body that had been cleansed and refined by Master Wu Yue be compared to those ruffian students? Zhang Chen clapped his hands and walked outside. The 2 people who were blocking the toilet door quickly moved aside, and the crowd who were watching the fun also made way for him. Zhang Chen, it's you again. A clear voice sounded from behind the crowd. The voice was pleasant to hear, but the students who were watching the fun scattered immediately. Zhang Chen was also very familiar with this voice. Damn it, how unlucky I am to be caught by this female man again. He turned around and saw a tall beauty walking towards him. She had an extremely hot body, and if she walked on the street, she would definitely get 100% attention. Zhang Chen, I caught you 3 times this month. The first time you were smoking, the second time you were molesting the girls in class 5, and today you got into a fight again. I'm going to ask your parents to come over tomorrow. There's no room for negotiation this time. Zheng Shuang's chest heaved up and down with anger, and her beautiful eyes were full of rage. Zhang Chen is done for now. If he is caught by Director Zheng, he will suffer the consequences. Need I say this? At least he should be punished. Zhang Chen looked around, and was met with gloating looks. Suddenly, Zhang Chen sniffed the air hard, and then slowly approached Zheng Shuang's chest. Zheng Shuang was tall, 1.75 meters tall, more than enough to be a model, while Zhang Chen was only 1.7 meters tall at this time. When he got closer, he hit the spot exactly. The students around looked at Zhang Chen as if he were a beast. This is the dream of many boys. Does it smell good? Zheng Shuang's voice came, and everyone smelled the smell of gunpowder in her words. Zhang Chen nodded vigorously. The 5 Emperor's secret art says that if you meet someone whose 5 elements complement yours, your practice will be twice as effective with half the effort. This kind of person is called a destiny person. I didn't expect that I would be so lucky to meet one so soon, and she's a great beauty. Just when Zhang Chen was too excited, Zheng Shuang kicked him. Bang! Zhang Chen was knocked to the ground directly. The kick made him dizzy and his sky was full of little stars. Har har, Zhang Chen is such a man, he even dares to take advantage of Director Zheng. Director Zheng's kick was so cool. Nonsense, the city has won the martial arts championship for 3 consecutive years, what's the fuss? Long live Director Zheng. It was already noon when Zhang Chen came out of the political education department, rubbing his shoulders. He looked up at the sun and felt as if it had just come out from the sun. Brother Chen, how did you deal with it? Wang Shouhou walked over and asked. Serious demerit. Brother Chen, you are too awesome. You even dare to take advantage of Director Zheng. Zhang Chen glanced at Wang Xiaohu and reached into his pocket to take out a cigarette. Wang Xiaohu tactfully took out a lighter and lit it for him. Damn it, it's my great China again. It seems like half of the boys in the class are smoking my cigarettes. When something goes wrong, Wang Xiaohu will be the only one with a conscience. You are so bold. You dare to hang around here after touching my brother. Bai Zhanfei came over with his hands in his pockets, followed by 4 or 5 senior high school students. Each of them was strong and imposing. Brother Chen, run quickly. Wang Xiaohu pulled Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen broke free from Wang Xiaohu's hand. Silly X, I was just about to look for you, this will put an end to our business. Bai Zhanfei laughed when he heard it. Interesting, how does it end? Are you threatening me? I'm so scared. The people behind him burst into laughter and looked at Zhang Chen jokingly. Stay away from Fang Xiaoyar from now on. Bai Zhanfei put away his smile and said word by word, I have decided to play with Fang Xiaoyar. Even if I have had enough fun, it will not be your turn. Chapter 6, Meeting Bai Zhanfei again. Hearing this, even his uncle could not tolerate it, so Zhang Chen punched her. Brother Fei, let me do it. Don't dirty your hands with that little brat, said a mushroom-headed guy in a white t-shirt behind him. Bai Zhanfei stepped back slightly and fought with the skinny guy Zhang Chen. It would be known that he had lost his identity. As the leader of the 3rd year of high school, he also had status. The mushroom-headed man grinned and met Zhang Chen's fist with his fist. Bang! The two men each took several steps back. Zhang Chen calmed down, this mushroom head seems to be no ordinary person, he is much stronger than Sun Nan. Now I haven't practiced the 5 Emperor's fist yet, I'm afraid I will suffer a loss today. It seems that I underestimated these people before. Zhang Chen's eyes rolled around, and he began to think about how to escape. Okay, kid, you have some strength. The mushroom-headed guy rubbed his fist and laughed sinisterly, brothers, don't do it. The reputation of our 4 heavenly kings cannot be ruined by this kid. Oldmar, where did the boxing skills I taught you go? How come you can't even handle a brat like this? Bai Zhanfei frowned and said unhappily. When Zhang Chen heard this, his heart moved. So these grandsons have practiced it before. I am definitely no match for them. A gentleman's revenge is never too late. It won't be too late to deal with them after I have mastered the 5 Emperor's fist. Brother, stop it. Zhang Chen quickly waved his hands at the mushroom-headed boy, Hehe, it's all my fault for being reckless just now. Brother, just tell me, what do you need me to do to let you go? The mushroom-headed guy was stunned, then looked at Zhang Chen with contempt, thinking that he was still so spineless after all the trouble. Now you know how powerful I am, right? How about this, get down on your knees and lick my toes, and I'll let you go. Zhang Chen cursed the mushroom-headed man in his heart when he heard it, but now was not the time to be stubborn. Brother, you are joking. I am not a beauty. Licking you a few times will not give you any pleasure. It will only make you feel sick. Brother, don't you think this is true? The mushroom head nodded, motioning for him to continue. I don't have any other skills, but I am rich. Everyone knows about Perfect Group. It's the advertisement that is broadcast on the city's TV stations every day. Perfect cosmetics, you deserve it, Zhang Chen said while gesturing. The mushroom-headed guy came up and kicked him, but he didn't use much force. After being teased by Zhang Chen, the expressions on their faces relaxed, and even Bai Zhanfei looked at Zhang Chen more favorably. Zhang Chen took a look and felt relieved. These bastards are really stupid. I can deal with them with just a little trick. Zhang Chen immediately stopped his gestures and continued, how about this, I'll take out some money to honor you guys, what do you think? Several people had guessed that Zhang Chen would say this, but Mushroom Head couldn't make a decision and looked at Bai Zhanfei. Bai Zhanfei smiled and said, brothers, we are little tight on money recently. I used my food money this month to buy my wife a mobile phone for her birthday. This guy has to be responsible for my meals this month. I'll give my cigarette money to this guy. I'll transfer the money I owed to Brother Fei last month to this guy. Bai Zhanfei coughed a few times quickly. He couldn't let them continue talking. The more they talked, the more they became more and more unscrupulous, and they were even dragging him into this. How about this, Zhang Chen, I see that you are sincere in wanting to reconcile with us. It just so happens that we are short of money, so you can be responsible for the food and cigarette money this month. Mushroom Head took 2 steps forward, took out Zhang Chen's wallet from his pocket, took out a stack of money from it, and then threw the wallet at Zhang Chen's feet. Brother Fei, this little bee is really rich, more than 1,000 yuan, said the mushroom-headed boy excitedly. Bai Zhanfei nodded, but this is not enough, we won't force you, you can help us get another 1,500 in 5 days. Zhang Chen nodded quickly, pretending to be willing. Several people were very satisfied with Zhang Chen's performance, and walked towards the school gate laughing. Har har, Brother Fei, I didn't expect that we would meet the god of wealth. Brother Fei is so awesome, playing with this guy's woman and spending this guy's money. Har har. Zhang Chen clenched his fists, his eyes filled with anger. Chapter 7, Serial Breast Attacks. After watching the group of people walk away, he picked up his wallet angrily and spat fiercely. You bastards, wait and see how I'll deal with you in the future. Do you really think it's easy to get my money? I, Zhang Chen, only believe in Cao in my life. I can only betray the world, but I can never let the world betray me. One day, I will trample you all under my feet. After venting my anger for a while, I turned around and walked towards the cafeteria. After taking 2 steps, I realized that all the money I had was taken away. What was there to eat? Zhang Chen, why are you still standing here? Zheng Shuang looked at Zhang Chen in surprise. As soon as Zhang Chen saw Zheng Shuang, a smile broke out on his face. Although he was in an extremely unhappy mood, his first principle in life was to be shrewd, and his idol was Cao. Take the present moment for example, can he be unhappy with Director Zheng? Obviously not, don't forget that Director Zheng had just criticized him. Director Zheng, I lost my money and have no money to eat. After saying that, he flipped over his wallet and found it was empty. Let's go, I'll treat you to a meal, Zheng Shuang said with a smile, just consider it as compensation for the kick I gave you. Zhang Chen nodded quickly. It was worth it even if he got kicked a few more times to have dinner with the beautiful Zheng. I said, what are you thinking about at such a young age? You don't study hard, you smoke and fight all day long. Anyway, you should focus on studying. Zhang Chen kept agreeing from behind, his eyes fixed on the beautiful Zheng's buttocks. Wow, it's so big and so perky, it's top quality. He was originally much shorter than the beautiful Zheng, and now that he was bending over, he was not far from the beautiful Zheng's butt. Zheng Shuang suddenly realized that there was no sound behind her. She turned around curiously and saw that the beast Zhang Chen ran straight into her arms. Zhang Chen! Zheng Shuang shouted through gritted teeth. The students passing by looked at the two of them curiously. Damn, isn't this Zhang Chen from class 3? How did he bump into Director Zheng's arms again? A boy said in surprise. Why do you say again? Has it happened before? Said another boy who was traveling with him. Of course. This morning, Zhang Chen was kicked by Director Zheng for this matter and was also called to the political education department. But, this Zhang Chen is really fierce. Zhang Chen felt like dying when he heard these words. Why did Jing Shan suddenly stop? Could he be blamed for this? Director Zheng, this is a misunderstanding. I really didn't mean it. So you're saying I did it on purpose? Zheng Shuang said grimly, her long, beautiful legs already raised up. Zhang Chen quickly took a few steps back. These legs are enough for me to play with for 2 years, but it would be painful if I get kicked again, he thought to himself. Zheng Shuang looked around and saw that quite a few students had gathered and several teachers had stopped to watch the fun. I'll settle the score with you later. After hearing this, Zhang Chen quickly turned around and started running. You're back. Did I let you go? Zheng Shuang's voice came from behind. Zhang Chen turned his head helplessly. Director Zheng, I've already told you, I really didn't mean it. Zheng Shuang glared, I asked you to come to the cafeteria to eat. After entering the cafeteria, Zheng Shuang did not mention what happened just now. The two of them ordered 2 dishes and a soup and walked to a small dining table next door. Because of the awkwardness of what happened before, the two of them didn't talk much. Zhang Chen glanced at Zheng Shuang from time to time, and his thoughts started turning again. This Jing girl is so enthusiastic when eating. I wonder who will marry her in the future. I heard that she is a top student of Donghua Normal University. She is only 21 years old this year. I wonder if I have a chance. But since this girl is my destined lover, I can't let her get away with it. I must have her accompany me on my journey of cultivation in the future. I haven't tried the effect of this destiny man yet. Why don't I practice the 5 Emperors concentration technique now and see how it works? Thinking of this, he put down the soup spoon. lowered his head, and started to practice the 5 Emperors concentration technique. Zhang Shuang drank the soup mouthful after mouthful. After all, she was only 21 years old. Zhang Chen touched her chest twice in a row. How could she not be annoyed? Hey, what's going on? Why do I suddenly have a strange feeling, as if Zhang Chen is a very important person in my life? How can it be so ridiculous? I am his teacher. Why is this thought getting stronger and stronger? It's really inexplicable. Zhang Shuang was very annoyed by this feeling. When she looked up, she saw Fang Yu with his head down and not eating. Zhang Chen, why aren't you eating? Zhang Shuang asked softly. Even she was surprised by the tone. She was a tomboy, but the voice was too feminine. Zhang Chen quickly withdrew from the 5 Emperors concentration technique, with a hint of excitement in his eyes. I didn't expect the effect to be so obvious. In just a short period of time, I have achieved the same results as I would in a whole class. If I practice with her for a few days, I might be able to complete the first level. Director Zhang, I feel very guilty, but you have to believe me, these 2 times were really accidents, Zhang Chen said pitifully. Zhang Shuang sighed quietly, okay, let's eat first. Chapter 8, Setting the Situation. Zhang Chen took a bite of food and put it into his mouth. Now the most urgent thing is to get along well with Jing Xianyu and see if there is any chance to find out where she lives. Then everything will be easy. Zhang Shuang thought Zhang Chen really regretted his behavior, and gradually started talking more to him. The two of them had a pretty happy chat. Director Zheng is here too, a man's voice came over. As soon as Zhang Chen looked up, he saw a handsome face. More importantly, this man was not only handsome, but also definitely over 1.85 meters tall. He was definitely someone Zhang Chen looked up to. Zhang Chen knew this person. He was the math teacher of class 5 and seemed to have graduated from the same school as Jing Shuang. Teacher Zhang Han, my mother went out today, so I didn't go back for dinner, Jing Shuang said with a smile. Zhang Han nodded and sat down next to Jing Shuang naturally. Zhang Shuang leaned to the side somewhat unnaturally. Who is this? Zhang Han asked Zhang Chen. Oh, this is Zhang Chen from class 2-3, Jing Shuang introduced, and this is Zhang Han, the math teacher from class 5. After introducing Jing Shuang, he lowered his head to eat, but he was a little angry in his heart. Zhang Han had been pursuing her when they were in college, and now he sat next to her in front of the students. It was so annoying. After hearing the introduction, Zhang Han nodded and waited for Zhang Chen's greeting. Zhang Chen agreed with Ming Jing in his heart, you're flirting with my destined person, and you want me to say hello to you. Damn it. He raised his head and forced a smile on his face. It must be said that Zhang Chen is indeed talented as an actor. Seeing this heartfelt smile, Zhang Han felt much more comfortable. What a sensible student. But he saw Zhang Chen lip reading something to him, and he was stunned. It's not that he didn't understand, but that he didn't believe what Zhang Chen said to him. Seeing that he was still staring at him, Zhang Chen repeated to him, fuck. Bang. Zhang Han slammed the table and stood up. You dare to scold me? Zhang Han pointed at Zhang Chen and shouted. The students and teachers who were eating around him looked at him in surprise. Zheng Shuang also turned her head, her beautiful eyes filled with disbelief. Zhang Chen cooperated very well, his hand trembled, and the spoonful of soup that was about to his mouth spilled on his pants. Teacher Zhang, I didn't scold you. Zheng Shuang quickly took out a tissue and handed it to Zhang Chen. Zhang Han, what are you doing? Zhang Chen took the tissue and wiped the soup off his legs miserably, with a look of grievance on his face. Me, he just called me a grass mud horse. You are still a high school student, how can your quality be so poor? Zhang Han said angrily. Zhang Han, please stop being unreasonable. Why didn't I hear him scolding you? Did you hear it? Zheng Shuang asked the students who were eating at the surrounding tables. I didn't hear it, Director Zheng. The students around shook their heads. Zheng Shuang already hated Zhang Han to the extreme. He had used every possible means to pursue her in college, and he had gone to any lengths to defeat his love rival. What he couldn't accept now was that he actually used such means on a high school student like Zhang Chen. Zheng Shuang, we've been classmates for 4 years, don't you believe me? Zhang Han saw that no one believed him, and he became even angrier. Oh, he used lip reading just now, so you didn't hear it. Zheng Shuang sneered, Zhang Han, it's because we've been classmates for 4 years that I know you so well. You're quite good at making up stories. Seeing Zhang Han was about to speak again, Jing Shuang waved her hand and said, "Okay, Zhang Han, stop talking. Don't slander my students. I'm going to make it clear to you today that there is no possibility for us to be together. Don't bother with that anymore. Zhang Chen, let's go." After saying that, Jing Shuang turned around and walked out of the cafeteria. Zhang Chen winked at Zhang Han and followed him out. "Fuck you, you're trying to steal my woman. My idol is Cao Cao." As soon as Jing Shuang and Zhang Chen walked out of the cafeteria, the whole place suddenly became noisy. "Director Zheng, you're so handsome," the girl shouted. "This guy is not good. He is not as handsome as me, but he dares to pursue Director Zheng. By the way, wasn't that Zhang Chen who repeatedly attacked my breasts? He's not really having something with Director Zheng, is he? No matter what, I think Zhang Chen is better than this idiot." Zhang Han was so angry that he was shaking. Why did he come to this school? His family had assets worth more than 10 billion yuan, and his uncle was the deputy mayor of the city. Did he need to be a teacher here? It was all for Jing Shuang, but now it was impossible for him to do so just for a student. "Zhang Chen, I will cut you into pieces." Zhang Han shouted word by word in his heart. Chapter 9, Starlight Body Tempering. He had been thinking of chatting with Jing Xianyu about life, but the girl was in a bad mood and had no intention of paying attention to him. It seemed that the road to revolution was still long. However, he was not in a hurry. He was very confident in conquering this girl. After all, his idol was Cao Cao. Back in the classroom, although Sun Nan and the others looked at Zhang Chen with eyes that seemed to be a murderer of his father, they did not come to trouble him. They thought that Bai Zhanfei had given a heads up. Zhang Chen spent the entire afternoon lying on the table, practicing the 5 Emperors concentration technique for several hours, but without Jing Shuang by his side, his efficiency was much lower. Although he had only practiced this magical skill for 1 day, he felt that his mind was much clearer than before. It was almost time to go home from school, but he could still remember clearly what the chemistry teacher said in the first class in the afternoon. You have to know that he heard it by accident. He would never have been able to do that before. This is just the beginning. I don't know what the result will be if I cultivate to the first level of perfection. Zhang Chen was full of expectations for the future. This 5 Emperors concentration technique had 9 levels. The method of cultivation was very detailed in his mind, but there was no mention of its efficacy. After the bell rang, he picked up his school bag and walked out of the classroom. He never had the habit of attending evening self-study classes. Everyone else, including the head teacher, had gotten used to it, or even become numb to it. In the head teacher's mind, Zhang Chen had long become a synonym for He Chiliao. When he returned to the villa and entered the door, he was startled. His father Zhang Moshing and his mother Song Wanhua were sitting on the sofa in the hall, and next to them was a graceful girl. Seeing Zhang Chen push the door open, several people's eyes fell on him. "It's not even time for evening study yet, and you've already come back. Every day you're either fighting, smoking, or skipping classes. How do I educate you?" Zhang Moshing slammed the coffee table, stood up, and said angrily. "Look at you. You only come back a few times a year, and every time you come back, you glare at your son. Baby, there's food left for you in the kitchen. You're at an age when you're growing up, so you have to get enough nutrition." Song Wanhua glared at her husband, then turned to Zhang Chen and said gently, Hehe, Mom is still the best. Dad, you don't have to be angry. I am the son of your great scientist Zhang. I can even solve those things learned in school in my sleep," Zhang Chen said carelessly. "Look at you," Zhang Moshing pointed at Zhang Chen and said, "You've been spoiled. You're a scoundrel, a complete gangster." When Song Wanhua heard this, he immediately got angry and shouted, "Did I spoil you? What have you been doing as a father? How many times can you come back in a year? Do you still have this family in your eyes?" Hearing this, Zhang Moshing's morale suddenly declined. He owed this family too much. Zhang Chen understood the logic behind this, but it was a deadlock that he couldn't untie. But the girl next to him is really good. She's big where she should be big, and small where she should be small. Could she be the fiancée his parents found for him? Su Ziqiang frowned when she saw Zhang Chen's gaze, and a hint of disgust appeared on her face. "Chenna, this is your cousin from your second uncle's family. She will go to Minghua High School in the future and will live in our house for the time being, Sung Wanhua introduced hurriedly. Zhang Chen nodded, but he thought in his heart that he had never had such a cousin since he was a child. His mother was an only child, and he had never heard of other cousins. But he didn't expose it. He wished he had such a beautiful cousin living in their house. After dinner, he went straight into the training room on the second floor. Bai Zhanfei would come to him to ask for money in 5 days. He had to practice the 5 Emperor's Fist to the first level in these 5 days. The 5 Emperor's Fist was divided into 9 levels, each level had 8 variations, a total of 72 variations. To practice the first level, one must reach the first level of body tempering. According to the realm of practice instilled in his mind by his master, there are 3 levels of practice: body tempering, mysterious level, earth level, and heaven level. Each stage is divided into 9 small levels. I came to the training room, closed the door, and drew open the curtains. The moon was full in the sky, which was a perfect time to use the starlight to temper my body. Among the 5 Emperor's secret techniques, there is one called the 5 Emperor's breathing technique. The master specifically instructed that this technique be used to draw starlight to temper the body. Zhang Chen sat cross-legged on the floor with his eyes closed, and began to practice the 5 Emperor's breathing technique. With the explanation left by his master, it was not difficult to get started with this breathing technique. After a while, he felt the starlight shining on him and then entering his body. Every cell in his body cheered and absorbed the energy of the starlight to its heart's content. Chapter 10, 3 Articles of Agreement. Suzicheng felt as sick as if she had eaten a fly. She had never received such a task since she joined the organization. Dr. Zhang was an upright and knowledgeable man, but who would have thought that his son would have such a character? It can be said that Zhang Chen did not leave a good impression on her in both encounters. Hey, I don't know when this mission will be completed. I hope Dr. Zhang can develop the gene potion as soon as possible. Suzicheng's room is on the first floor. She is used to practicing for 2 hours every day before going to bed, and today is no exception. She has now reached the 7th level of body tempering, and this is the result of her deliberate polishing of her realm, otherwise she might be able to enter the Xian level. Hey, the fluctuations in the starlight tonight are a little strange. Could it be that there are cultivators around? During the body tempering process, it is necessary to draw starlight for tempering. As soon as Suzicheng started practicing the technique, she felt the fluctuation of starlight. She did not act rashly. It was impossible to determine the cultivator's location based on the fluctuations. She couldn't help but be alert. Perhaps a murderer was coming to harm Dr. Zhang's family. She took out her cell phone and sent a message, then continued to feel the fluctuations of the starlight. After a while, she opened her eyes full of shock. It turned out to be a cultivator who was drawing starlight into his body for the first time, but this starlight is too strong. My aptitude is already extraordinary, but this starlight is more than twice as strong as mine back then. What kind of monster is this? But she would never believe that this monster was right upstairs from her. Zhang Chen was trembling all over at this moment, with beads of sweat as big as soybeans falling from his face from time to time. This starlight body tempering is really not something a human can endure. The originally gentle starlight entering my body is like a knife constantly scraping every inch of my skin. If it weren't for the master cleaning my essence and marrow, I might have been killed by this starlight long ago. After more than 2 hours, Zhang Chen sat on the ground. His whole body seemed to be exhausted, without a trace of strength. Fortunately, I finally entered the first level of body tempering. It was not in vain. With a satisfied smile on his face, he took off his clothes and fell asleep on the bed. The morning sun shone on the bed, and Zhang Chen was sleeping like a dead dog. In a daze, I felt something pushing me. I opened my eyes and saw a beautiful face looking at me with a little concern. When she saw that I woke up, her pretty face seemed relieved. Zhang Chen then remembered that he had a beautiful cousin living in this villa. Life is so beautiful. He kicked the quilt away habitually. Anyway, the nanny will take care of it. The life of a rich second generation is so good. A shrill scream was heard, and Zhang Chen was so scared that he sat down on the bed. You sleep without clothes on. Zhang Chen finally reacted and quickly took the bed sheet to cover himself, but he muttered, wearing clothes when sleeping, isn't that a disease? Another scream was heard. Fuck, what happened to you? Zhang Chen, could you not be so disgusting? Look at your clothes. Zhang Chen looked at it in confusion. His clothes were covered with white stains, just like that. It's unfair. This is the sweat I sweated from yesterday. The two walked out of the villa together. Zhang Chen looked at Su Ziqiang, who was walking beside him intentionally or unintentionally. Feeling Zhang Chen's gaze, Su Ziqiang glared at him fiercely. Zhang Chen, let's make 3 rules. If you don't agree, I will post the dirty things you did this morning on the school's propaganda wall. After saying that, she shook her phone proudly. Zhang Chen was stunned. Could it be that this young lady really took photos? If so, he would be speechless. Tell me, how about the 3 rules? Zhang Chen asked lazily. First, you can't tell others that we live together. No, we live in a villa. Zhang Chen nodded without objection. Second, we can't let anyone know we know each other at school. Third, I haven't thought about it yet. I'll tell you when I have. Zhang Chen looked up at Su Ziqiang, sneered, and walked out without saying a word. Hey, do you agree or not? Zhang Chen waved behind him without looking back. Chapter 11, Meeting Zhang Han again. It only takes 20 minutes by bus from the villa to the school. After getting off the bus, Zhang Chen walked towards the supermarket. Su Ziqiang ignored him and went straight to the principal's office. 10 minutes later, Zhang Chen walked into the classroom carrying a large plastic bag. Hey, Brother Chen, you're finally here. Good morning, Brother Chen. Brother Chen is mighty. Zhang Chen smiled happily, but he sneered in his heart. You are all waiting for my cigarette. Today is the last time. If you take my cigarette, you should spit it out sooner or later. He took out 2 large Zhonghua cigarettes from the plastic bag. Before he could open them, a pair of hands reached out to him. Zhang Chen looked up and saw Sun Nan sneering at him. For Brother Fei's sake, I can temporarily not bother with you, but consider this cigarette as a filial piety to me. 4 or 5 of Sun Nan's younger brothers have surrounded Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen suddenly laughed. Okay, take this cigarette, I'll go get 2 more. This coward, if I were him, I would just die. Hey, don't say that. If he dies, who will provide us with cigarettes? Har har, if I have a son like this in the future, I'll just beat him to death. After Zhang Chen left, people in the classroom started talking and laughing. Zhang Chen stopped at the door of the classroom, clenched his fists, and his eyes were bloodshot. A few minutes later, Zhang Chen walked into the classroom again carrying a plastic bag, but the bell had already rung. Their head teacher was standing on the podium, and next to her was Su Ziqiang. Zhang Chen was stunned. He didn't expect Su Ziqiang to come to their class. However, Su Ziqiang was not surprised. She glanced at him and turned away, as if she didn't know him. Zhang Chen, you are late again, the head teacher said coldly. Let me see what you have in your hand. Teacher, I got up late. This is the breakfast I brought. Zhang Chen quickly put the plastic bag behind him. Okay, go back. The head teacher seemed too lazy to pay attention to him. To his surprise, Su Ziqiang actually followed him over and sat next to him in front of his stunned gaze. The fat girl sitting next to him was replaced. What a happy thing. He glanced at Su Ziqiang. This girl was indeed not bad, but her personality was too strong and cold. In his heart, Fang Xiaoyar was better. He glanced at Fang Xiaoyar again and didn't even look at him. After lying down, he continued to practice the concentration technique, but the effect was not ideal. He did not make any progress after a whole morning of practice. It seems that he must find a way to get closer to Jing Shuang, so that his practice will be more effective. On the contrary, Su Ziqiang cherished this hard-earned opportunity to attend the class and did not miss anything the teacher said, even though she had learned these things before. She glanced at Zhang Chen, who was sleeping soundly beside her, her eyes a little dim. She had no way of having this normal life. When the bell rang for the end of get out of class at noon, Zhang Chen sat up and stretched. Su Ziqiang had disappeared long ago, and Wang Shouhou didn't even call him today, which made him feel very strange. Zhang Chen went directly to the director's office in the teaching building to look for his goddess of destiny. He knocked on the door and opened it after getting a response. To his surprise, Zhang Han was also inside, sitting opposite Jing Shuang's desk, with a rather ugly look on his face. Did I come at the wrong time? Zhang Chen pretended to be embarrassed, but in his heart he cursed all of Zhang Han's ancestors for 18 generations. He still refuses to give up on my destiny man. I guess I'll have to find a chance to teach this stupid teacher a lesson someday. What he didn't expect was that Zhang Han was thinking the same thing as he was, and the look in his eyes when he looked at Zhang Chen seemed to want to swallow him up. Zhang Chen, is there anything wrong? Zheng Shuang's tone was very kind. Director Zheng, thank you for treating me to dinner yesterday. I brought money today, and I would like to invite you to the cafeteria for dinner, Zhang Chen said softly. Seeing that Zheng Shuang was about to refuse, he rolled his eyes and continued, Director Zheng, I know that what I did before was wrong, and I also want to change, but I just don't know where to start. I want to talk to Director Zheng. This made Zheng Shuang unable to refuse. The poor student wanted to improve, and it was also the job of the political and educational director. Zhang Han stood up immediately, but he still suppressed his anger and said, Zhang Chen, a few of us classmates want to get together at noon today. I think you should come another day. Zhang Chen snorted in his heart, but pretended to be dejected and said, It seems that today is unlucky, Director Zheng, I will go out first. Zhang Chen, wait a minute, Zheng Shuang hurriedly called out, Zhang Han, I won't go to the class reunion. There will be plenty of opportunities in the future. After all, student affairs are more important. After saying this, she went to get her coat without waiting for Zhang Han to refute. When Zhang Chen saw her turn around, a smug smile appeared on his face and he shook his fist at Zhang Han. Did you do this on purpose? Zhang Han shouted. Zheng Shuang turned her head and looked at him with a frown. Zhang Han, please don't use this tone to my students. Teacher Zhang Han, I know I came at a wrong time today, but I really didn't know you had a class reunion today. Why don't you go to the reunion, Director Zheng? My business is not urgent, Zhang Chen said pitifully. Zhang Han, take care of yourself. Zhang Chen, let's go. Chapter 12, The Beautiful Teacher Has a Reward. Looking at the two people's backs as they left, Zhang Han slammed his fist on the table. Zhang Chen, I will remember you. Zhang Han took out his cell phone and dialed a number. Uncle Wang, can you help me find the information of a student named Zhang Chen in Minghua High School? Yes, please. After hanging up the phone, Zhang Han sneered, in Songyuan City, even if you are dragon, you have to lie low to me. Zhang Chen did not waste any time and put the concentration technique into practice while walking. He practiced at an unusually fast speed next to Zheng Shuang. Zheng Shuang felt that she liked Zhang Chen more and more. He was completely different from the gangster image she had in her mind before. She sighed in her heart and thought that it seemed that there was still hope if Zhang Chen was educated properly. Seeing Zhang Chen keeping his head down and keeping silent, he thought that he was still worried about Zhang Han's matter, and tried to enlighten him from time to time. However, Zhang Chen had no intention of listening to him. He had to hurry up and practice the concentration technique to the first level of perfection. However, he still needs to be careful to keep a distance from Zheng Shuang. If he attacks her chest again, Zheng Shuang will kick him to death. Zhang Chen occasionally talked to her about the technique of a meal, but most of the time he was practicing the technique of concentrating his mind. Suddenly, he felt his mind became extremely clear, and the previous chaotic feeling completely disappeared. He was delighted, and finally he cultivated the first level of the concentration technique to perfection. It turned out that this was the feeling of being smart. The next moment, his eyes became fiery as he looked at Zheng Shuang. Practicing beside her was several times faster than practicing on his own. This destined person must not be snatched away by others. Somehow, when Zheng Shuang saw Zhang Chen's eyes, she felt a little shy. After a moment, she quickly shook her head. Zhang Chen was obviously still a child. How could she have such thoughts? After dinner, Zhang Chen walked straight back to the classroom, whistling as he walked. It seems that after these few days of getting along, this Xing girl no longer rejects me. This is a good start. Now that the first level of the concentration technique has been perfected, I will have to practice the 5 Emperor's Fist technique as soon as possible. Bai Zhanfei will come to collect the money in 4 days. As he was thinking, he arrived at the classroom door. As soon as he entered, many boys greeted him enthusiastically. It seemed that his cigarette really did not have any white hair. However, he knew that this was all superficial. If he encountered any problems, these people would run away faster than anyone else. Su Ziqiang was already sitting in her seat. She looked up at Zhang Chen and then lowered her head to read. Zhang Chen was a little depressed. It seemed that his cousin didn't have a very good impression of him. As I sat down, the bell rang and the English teacher walked into the classroom with a textbook in her arms. The English teacher's name is Fang Qing. She graduated from Capital University of Foreign Studies and had just arrived at the school. She was wearing a white casual suit on the upper body and a white linen skirt on the lower body. Her chest was trembling, which was quite spectacular. With a pretty face and fair skin, she is the dream girl of countless boys. The same was true for Zhang Chen. He had originally planned to sleep, but for the first time in his life he sat up straight and stared at the teacher intently. The voice of pervert, Suzichung, came over, very softly, but he could still hear it clearly. Hehe, Sushanyo, don't be unconvinced. There's nothing bigger about me than yours, Zhang Chen counterattacked. You, hooligan. Suzichung said angrily, and at the same time felt helpless. In order not to reveal her identity, she had to pretend to act in a way that was appropriate for her age so as not to arouse suspicion. But seeing Zhang Chen's eyes and the saliva he was about to drool at was really disgusting. How have your classmates done with the homework I assigned to them yesterday? I'm going to do a random check. Fang Qing's voice sounded, making people feel numb and very pleasant to the ear. But after hearing this, many students became dejected. Of course, these were students with better grades. People like Zhang Chen didn't hear what was said clearly. He just watched. I know it may be difficult for you, but how can you get good grades without hard work? Fang Qing said with a smile, but if any student can complete my task, I will have a reward. Zhang Chen thought about this sentence clearly, because Fang Qing's words were too tempting and made people think a lot. Hehe, I really want to know what the reward is, Zhang Chen laughed in his heart. Sushanyo, what task did the teacher assign for you? Zhang Chen nudged Suzichung beside him with his arm. First of all, I warn you, don't call me Sushanyo, call me by my name. Secondly, today is my first day here, how would I know what homework I have been assigned? Zhang Chen slapped his forehead, wondering how could he have forgotten about this. He quickly turned around and asked Wen Shouhou behind him. This little girl Fang is not an easy person to deal with. She even asked me to recite the English version of the Bible. Even though it was just an excerpt from it, it was too difficult. But if it's not difficult, how can I show how powerful I am? Hehe, Miss Su, I'm sure you'll get your reward. He took the information and started flipping through it. Chapter 13, Memoizing the Bible. While Zhang Chen was looking through the materials, the beautiful teacher had already started checking the homework. Song Tingting, you are the English class representative, you go first. Song Tingting stood up reluctantly, thought for a moment and then began to recite. She was fluent at the beginning, but she started to get stuck. When she had recited about 1/3 of the way, she stopped completely and looked at the teacher awkwardly. It's beyond my expectation that he can recite so much. You're great. How about we give him a round of applause? Fang Qing said encouragingly. Song Tingting was very happy to hear what the teacher said. Gao Jun, you are the squad leader, so set an example, Fang Qing continued to call the roll. Zhang Chen finally finished reading the information in his hand, fortunately it was not his turn yet. Before this, let alone memoizing it, I can't even understand it when I read it. But after I perfected the first level of the mind concentration technique, it was a different story. Zhang Chen, I think you should go to sleep. Suzichung glanced at him. She knew the difficulty of the Bible. Although it was very useful for students, it would take a lot of effort to memoize it. But what about Zhang Chen? He just flipped through it, and with his level, it was still unclear whether he could understand it. What's the matter, Miss Su, do you look down on me? Zhang Chen said in a low voice. Suzichung was very unhappy that he called her Sushanyo, but she couldn't get angry during class. It's not that I look down on you, it's just that you are a piece of useless shit, Suzichung said angrily. Sushanyo, how about we make a bet? What if I memeize it? HMPH, if you can memeize it, you can do whatever you want, but if you can't, you have to listen to me in everything when you go back, Suzichung said cunningly. That's no problem. Hehe, how about this, I want you to let me kiss me on my back. Zhang Chen said with ill intention. You, hooligan. Suzichung almost shouted out in anger. TSK, no sincerity, forget it. Zhang Chen turned away. Suzichung struggled violently in her heart. If Zhang Chen listened to her in everything after returning, her mission would be much easier. Thinking of this, she gritted her teeth and said, Zhang Chen, I promise you. Okay, you can't regret it, Zhang Chen smiled proudly. Well, our class committee members set an example for us. They all recited very well and it seems they have put in a lot of effort. So who will recite next? Fang Qing's eyes wandered around the classroom. But wherever she looked, the students lowered their heads, obviously lacking confidence. Teacher, let me do it. Zhang Chen shouted loudly, raising his hand high. The students around were stunned, and when they saw that it was Zhang Chen who raised his hand, the whole class exploded. Har har, it's Zhang Chen. Am I seeing things? Zhang Chen, did you get kicked in the head by a donkey, or are you just sleepy? He must not be awake yet. Look, his eyes are not open yet. Could he be sleepwalking? Brother Chen is mighty. Zhang Chen is stupid. Fang Qing was also a little surprised. Zhang Chen had never passed the English test. Let alone the Bible, he probably couldn't even memorize the alphabet. However, as a teacher, she couldn't discourage students' enthusiasm. She pressed her hands together, signaling the students to be quiet. Zhang Chen's learning spirit is worth learning, so let's start memorizing. Fang Qing didn't know what to say. But Zhang Chen knew clearly in his heart, even a little girl like you looks down on me. He turned around and looked around the classroom, all he saw were mocking faces. He suddenly spoke, and a pure English accent came out of his mouth. Hearing this voice, Fang Qing's expression immediately became solemn. Only those who have lived abroad for more than 10 years can practice such spoken English, but Zhang Chen. Su Ziqiang also looked at him in shock, and he also knew what this accent meant. The other students didn't feel much about it, as they didn't really understand accents. Soon, he memorized the first paragraph word for word. The classmates looked at him as if he were a ghost. He then recited the second paragraph, still at a steady pace and with a pure accent. A few minutes later, he had memorized all 5 passages from the Bible. Oh my God, he actually memorized it. I remember he never passed English. What's going on? The students below murmured in low voices. Fang Xiaoya looked at him with complicated eyes, full of uncertainty. But at this moment, Zhang Chen spoke again, still talking about the content of the Bible. The students around were stunned, as if they thought of something, and quickly opened the information. Oh my God, he's actually reciting the back of the Bible. Is he an alien? Fang Qing's beautiful eyes were filled with shock. She had only assigned this homework 2 days ago. When he uttered the last word, everyone looked at him like he was a monster. He had memorized the entire Bible excerpt. This was originally the homework assigned to them by the teacher for half a semester. Zhang Chen lowered his head and glanced at Su Ziqiang. At this moment, Su Ziqiang slightly opened her cherry lips in shock, which was extremely tempting. When he saw Zhang Chen pouting at him, he finally reacted. Thinking of the bet between them before, a trace of redness crept up on his cheeks and he quickly lowered his head. He looked at Fang Xiaoya again, but although Fang Xiaoya was also shocked, there was still disgust towards him in her eyes. Oh, it seems that what happened that day really backfired. If it were me now, I would definitely plan that event perfectly. Fang Qing suddenly clapped her hands, and then the students below all applauded Zhang Chen. No matter what he was like before, at this moment they really admired him from the bottom of their hearts. Chapter 14 5 Emperor's Free Needle Technique. Zhang Chen raised his head proudly. He had always bought cigarettes for others to make himself felt, but he never expected that it would be so easy to gain a sense of presence. It seemed that his previous approach was wrong. We should learn from Zhang Chen in the future. I think the students' heartfelt applause is the best reward for Zhang Chen, isn't it? Fang Qing said with a smile. The beautiful teacher has a charming smile, but the reward is a bit of a rip-off. I wasted so many brain cells in vain. However, Zhang Chen could only suffer in silence. He couldn't openly ask the teacher for a reward, but the bet with someone was a done deal. Zhang Chen turned his head and looked at Su Ziqiang. She knew she was in the wrong and did not dare to look at Zhang Chen. Well, there are so many people here. Can we fulfill our bet after we go back? Su Ziqiang said in a mosquito-like voice. Zhang Chen nodded, agreeing with him. Su Ziqiang was gloomy all afternoon. She never thought that Zhang Chen, this beast, suddenly turned into Ultraman and really memorized the Bible. What should she do now? Could she really let him kiss her? This famous beautiful agent was actually very nervous about this matter. From time to time, she glanced at Zhang Chen, who was sleeping soundly on the table. She actually found it difficult to understand this spoiled rich second-generation man. Zhang Chen naturally didn't sleep, he was very excited. This 5 Emperor's secret technique is indeed a treasure. My master really didn't lie to me. It not only contains techniques and cultivation experience, but also medical skills. The effect of this 5 Emperor's free and easy needle technique is simply too magical. If you practice it to perfection, it can even bring the dead back to life. It seems that I have no choice but to learn it. However, this set of acupuncture techniques is divided into 5 levels, and it is extremely difficult to practice. In addition, to reach the second level, one must rely on the assistance of profound strength. I can only learn the first level at present. Zhang Chen spent the entire afternoon pondering the 5 Emperor's acupuncture method. With the superb memory brought by the concentration technique and the experience left by his master, he quickly understood the general idea and even remembered most of the acupuncture points on the human body. After school in the evening, Zhang Chen still had no habit of going to self-study in the evening, and he was even too lazy to carry his school bag. With the concentration technique, he was still worried about the test results. This thing is much more reliable than the BBK point reading machine. Su Ziqiang was reluctant to go back and insisted on going to evening self-study. Zhang Chen knew what she was planning, but she could run away but she could not, and she would have to go back sooner or later. Zhang Chen couldn't study here with her in the evening, he had to go back to practice the 5 Emperor's fist. When he got home, he ate something and went into the training room. He first used starlight to temper his body for an hour. Now he has reached the first level of body tempering and his body is much stronger than before. After completing the warm-up movements, he sat down quietly and recalled the essentials of the first level of the 5 Emperor's fist. He knew all the 8 variations of the first level by heart. Call. He exhaled heavily, stood up and clasped his hands in front of his chest. This was the starting posture of the 5 Emperor's fist. Next, he began to practice the first variation. Hiss. He didn't expect that the first change would be so difficult, requiring his arms to be placed on his shoulders in the opposite direction. If it weren't for his extraordinary physical strength, this first change would probably break his arms. It seems that there is some truth in the 5 Emperor's fist requiring one to enter the body tempering stage before practicing it. After several hours of practice, he finally succeeded in cultivating this first change. Bang! The wind whistled when the punch was thrown. The power of this punch was very strong. Zhang Chen was now full of confidence that he could knock the mushroom-headed man down with just this first change. Zhang Chen collapsed on the ground. This first change of connection had exhausted all his strength. Now he didn't even have the strength to climb onto the bed. At this moment, the door of the villa creaked open and a smile appeared on Zhang Chen's face. It was Su Ziqiang who came back. Sure enough, Su Ziqiang tiptoed to open the door, looked around inside before coming in. She patted her chest and said, "It seems that Aunt Song didn't come back today. Zhang Chen must have gone to bed a long time ago. This saves us a lot of trouble. Cousin, are you back?" Zhang Chen's voice came. Su Ziqiang shuddered with fear, but still managed to answer, "Cousin, you haven't slept yet, go to bed early, you have to go to school tomorrow." "Cousin, please come upstairs quickly, I can't take it anymore," Zhang Chen shouted weakly. There was a gleam of brilliance in Su Ziqiang's eyes. Could it be that Zhang Chen encountered some danger? But today, Black Tiger and the others were protecting him, so nothing should happen. Su Ziqiang rushed up to the second floor in a few steps, and when she opened the door, she saw Zhang Chen lying on the ground. "What's wrong with you?" Su Ziqiang hugged Zhang Chen and asked anxiously. Chapter 15 Zhang Chen Cooks. Zhang Chen didn't expect Su Ziqiang to be so nervous about him, but he was very happy in his heart. At this time, Su Ziqiang held him in her arms. Zhang Chen moved slightly. It's so big and soft. "Cousin, I feel weak all over, please help me to the bed," Zhang Chen said softly, and this was true. Su Ziqiang frowned and checked his body. There were no injuries, but he was really exhausted. Su Ziqiang suddenly stood up, picked up Zhang Chen with one hand, and walked towards the bed. Zhang Chen screamed in fright. How could this girl be so strong that she could lift him up with just one hand? After all, she weighed more than 120 pounds. Su Ziqiang exerted force on her hands, and Zhang Chen fell onto the bed with a bang. The corners of her mouth rose up in a sneer. How could Zhang Chen's little action just now escape her perception? Ouch! You are murdering your husband. Zhang Chen lay on the bed and cried out. Su Ziqiang clapped her hands, as if she had not done any of this at all. Su girl, it's time for us to make a travel bet. You won't go back on your word, will you? Zhang Chen suddenly shouted. Oh! Su Ziqiang's momentum immediately dropped. How could she have forgotten about this? Hey, cousin, I'll go downstairs now that I see you're okay. I haven't finished my homework yet. Su Xianyo, are you planning to break the contract? I didn't expect you to be such a person, Zhang Chen shouted angrily. Su Ziqiang stopped and sighed in her heart. Perhaps due to her profession, she would not regret what she said. Although the bet between them was mostly a joke, she felt very uncomfortable to break the contract like this. If it continued for a long time, it would inevitably affect her mood. Okay, then give me a kiss. Su Ziqiang turned around, but her expression could not be seen clearly in the dark. Zhang Chen opened his mouth wide and looked at her in disbelief. She actually agreed. Kiss me, hurry up, it's too late to wait. Su Ziqiang came over. In the moonlight, Zhang Chen could see her long eyelashes and pretty face. He was stunned for a moment. Hey, if you keep doing this our bet will be invalid, Su Ziqiang said resentfully. Zhang Chen woke up in shock, and quickly moved his face forward, pouting his lips and closing his eyes. In this holy moment, you should close your eyes. After all, this is your first kiss. He only felt that Su Ziqiang was getting closer and closer to him, and a hot breath she exhaled blew a fragrance on his face. He could feel her cheek approaching. Suddenly, there was a wetness on his forehead, like a dragonfly touching the water. Su Ziqiang's small mouth gently imprinted on his forehead, and then quickly left. Zhang Chen opened his eyes suddenly. Su Xianyo, you are cheating. Who told you to kiss my forehead? But you didn't say kiss. Su Ziqiang laughed like a silver bell. Fuck, my actions are so obvious, do I need to tell you, you are obviously. Su Ziqiang rolled up her sleeves. Zhang Chen remembered the fierceness with which Su Ziqiang had held him with one hand just now, and he could not continue. Damn it, I don't know what's wrong with this girl. She's obviously very thin, how come she has so much strength? Just wait and see, little girl. When I reach a higher level, I will force myself on you. After Su Ziqiang went downstairs, Zhang Chen regained some strength, turned over and looked at the ceiling. Su Ziqiang's pretty face just now was deeply imprinted in his mind. Then he thought of Jing Shuang and Fang Xiaoyar. Alas, life is difficult for men too. Early in the morning, Su Ziqiang walked out of the room and stretched. It was already past 3 in the morning when she slept. She had received orders from her superiors that someone might take action against Dr. Zhang's family in the near future, so the Zhang family's guards could not let down their guard. She was about to go upstairs to call Zhang Chen to get up when she heard some crackling sounds in the kitchen. She walked over curiously, and what she saw stunned her. I saw Zhang Chen wearing an apron, busy cooking? Cousin, are you sure you are awake and not sleepwalking? Zhang Chen turned his head to look at her, then hurried back because the fire was too big and the porridge in the pot was about to boil. Su Ziqiang broke out in a sweat after seeing this. Why not use a rice cooker to cook porridge? Cousin, wait for me for a moment, it will be ready soon. Su Ziqiang looked at the time. It was just 6 o'clock. There was still time. She sat at the dining table, resting her chin on her hands, watching Zhang Chen who was busy in the kitchen. Pucci, Su Ziqiang couldn't hold back and laughed out loud. It seemed that this was Zhang Chen's first time in the kitchen. He couldn't tell the difference between kitchen utensils at all. He made a mess of the kitchen while cooking porridge, and basins and spoons kept falling to the ground. Did he do this specially for me? Su Ziqiang thought to herself, and her eyes suddenly lit up. Chapter 16 Su Xianyo was moved. Finally, Zhang Chen came out of the kitchen sweating profusely, carrying 2 bowls of porridge. Su Ziqiang stared at the porridge in the bowl with wide eyes. She could tell that it was millet porridge, but what was that black stuff inside? Are you sure you washed the rice in the pot? As if seeing Su Ziqiang's doubts, Zhang Chen was a little embarrassed. Don't worry, little girl Su, these are all the explosive materials I specially prepared for you. Eating them is good for your health. But after hearing this, Su Ziqiang was even more afraid to eat it. Shocking news. Zhang Chen, however, directly picked up the bowl, took a big sip, and then looked intoxicated. Suzuchung hesitated for a moment, but still picked up the bowl. She had eaten all the dirtiest things when she was on missions in the mountains before. Compared to those, this millet porridge was simply a feast. Besides, it was a gift from Zhang Chen after all. This porridge smells quite delicious. Suzuchung put the bowl to her mouth, smelled it, and then took a sip. She suddenly widened her eyes and looked at Zhang Chen without blinking. "Cousin, what's wrong with you?" Zhang Chen asked in surprise. But in his heart he was thinking, "Hey, Sushanyo, I told you not to underestimate me. My porridge is not very good, but the ingredients in it are made according to a Chinese medicine formula in the Five Emperors' secret art. Not only can it strengthen the bones and muscles, but the taste is also irresistible." "I've never tasted such delicious porridge," Suzuchung said vaguely. This time she was no longer reserved and drank it in big gulps. He finished the bowl of porridge in just a few mouthfuls. Zhang Chen took the bowl from her hand with a smile and went to the kitchen to serve her porridge. "Zhang Chen, thank you for making porridge for me," Suzuchung's voice sounded from behind him. "Hehe, as the saying goes, to catch a person you have to catch his stomach first. How about it, Sushan, you can't live without me, right?" Zhang Chen said proudly. What surprised him was that Suzuchung did not respond to him. He turned his head curiously, only to find that Suzuchung was staring at her blankly with tears in her eyes. Zhang Chen immediately panicked. "Well, cousin, I just talk nonsense, don't take it seriously, look at me, I really don't mean that." Zhang Chen was holding the bowl and gesticulating, which was very funny. Puff. Suzuchung actually laughed, with tears still on her face. Her tearful yet budding look made Zhang Chen stand still. "Hey, will you let me drink the porridge? It will get cold soon." Zhang Chen suddenly woke up, returned to reality, and quickly handed over the porridge in his hand. This little girl is crying and laughing at the same time, what's going on? Zhang Chen was a little confused. A girl's thoughts are the hardest to guess. Suzuchung felt very sweet while drinking the porridge. Unconsciously, the past came to her mind. She spent almost all of her childhood in cultivation. She had never experienced such a day. The ordinary life of others was beyond her reach. It was the first time in so many years that someone cooked porridge for her. How could she not be moved? The stronger the girl is, the softer her heart is. Walking into the classroom, Zhang Chen discovered that the way his classmates looked at him had changed, especially those top students who usually looked at him with less disgust and contempt, but a hint of respect. However, there is still one person whose opinion has not changed, and that is Fang Xiaoyar. She always believes that Zhang Chen must have used some despicable means to deceive teachers and classmates. I have to say that girls' thoughts are sometimes paranoid. Zhang Chen did not explain to her that to win a woman's heart one must use means, one must convince her with virtue, to convince her with emotion, and if that doesn't work one must force her, saying that nothing else will work. "Brother Chen, the cigarettes are gone." Zhang Chen had just sat down when Wang Xiaohu behind him started shouting at him as if his mother had died. "Smoke less, or you might die from smoking." Zhang Chen has decided to quit smoking. Through the practice over the past few days, he has realized the harm that smoking does to his body. "Hey, why hasn't Shouhou come to school for several days and my cell phone can't be reached?" Zhang Chen asked curiously. Zhang Chen, Shouhou and Wang Xiaohu were childhood friends. They had fought together, been bullied together, and had many glorious deeds. If you hadn't mentioned it, I would have forgotten. I think a few days ago, someone said Antoine was hospitalized, but I asked and it wasn't serious. Zhang Chen was very surprised after hearing this. Antoine was naturally Shouhou's mother, and she was very kind to them when they were young. "Let's go over at noon. We haven't seen Antoine for a while." Wang Xiaohu nodded, indicating that there was no problem. Chapter 17 Skinny Monkey. After school at noon, Zhang Chen and Wang Xiaohu got on the bus to the city center hospital without eating. After getting off the bus, they asked the nurse at the front desk and ran straight to Antoine's ward. A skinny monkey was walking out of the ward corridor on the third floor, carrying a lunch box. "Skinny monkey," Zhang Chen shouted and ran over immediately. The skinny monkey, who had been lowering his head, raised his head and was stunned in the corridor. There were bloodshot eyes in the skinny monkey and his face was sallow, completely different from the cool and lively skinny monkey he used to be. "Shouhou, how did you become like this? How is Aunt Wang?" Zhang Chen felt something was wrong and asked while grabbing Shouhou's shoulder. The skinny monkey reacted, "Why are you here?" "My mom is fine, you guys should go back to class." "Bullshit, skinny monkey, do you fucking consider us as your brothers?" Zhang Chen kicked the skinny monkey and said. "Shouhou, what's going on? Tell us," Wang Xiaohu asked anxiously. The skinny monkey suddenly squatted down and started crying while holding his lunch box. Zhang Chen and the others felt that something was wrong. "Shouhou, be a man, tell us what's wrong and we will shoulder the responsibility together." Wang Xiaohu glanced at the door of the ward and asked, "What disease did Aunt Wang have?" "Fuck, just tell me, are you going to make us die of anxiety?" Zhang Chen kicked the skinny monkey again. "Cancer, my mother doesn't let me tell you." After saying this, the skinny monkey burst into tears. "How is this possible?" Zhang Chen murmured to himself. Antoine was very kind to him and he often lived in Shouhou's house when he was a child. Song Wanhua never came home all day long, so it was Antoine who spent more time taking care of him. "What did the doctor say?" Wang Xiaohu asked. "I need surgery quickly, but it will cost more than 200,000 yuan. Now I have tens of thousands of foreign debts, and I have no money for surgery at all," said the skinny monkey, wiping his face. "Why didn't you tell us earlier? If you delay Aunt Wang's treatment, I will kill you," Zhang Chen said coldly. "Shouhou, make an appointment for Aunt Wang's surgery. I will send the money over this afternoon." After saying that, Zhang Chen rushed down the corridor. "Zhang Chen, but my mother said." "Skinny monkey, stop talking nonsense." Zhang Chen turned around and cursed loudly. "Just listen to Zhang Chen," Wang Xiaohu patted Shouhou's shoulder. Of course, Shouhou hoped that his mother could have the surgery as soon as possible, and he ran downstairs with tears in his eyes. Zhang Chen took a taxi to the downstairs of Perfect Group. He seldom came here and was not familiar with the employees there. He called his mother but could not get through. It seemed that she was either in a meeting or having a meal. But he didn't have time to wait and rushed into the door. "Hey, who are you looking for? I'm talking to you, but you're still running away." A young security guard hurriedly chased after him. The security guard looked furious. He walked up to Zhang Chen and stretched out his hands to stop him. "Don't you know you need to register to enter? Who are you looking for?" "I'm looking for my mom," Zhang Chen said hastily, but he realized something was wrong and quickly said, "I'm looking for Mr. Song." The security guard looked Zhang Chen up and down. He was wearing a washed-out school uniform and a pair of knockoff brand sneakers. How could he look like a rich second generation? This guy came here by bus. Perfect Group is such a big company, but Mr. Song's son is so shabby? If everything is fine, I'll go in. I have something urgent to do, Zhang Chen said hurriedly. Wait, you said you are Mr. Song's son, what can you prove? Proof? How to prove it? ID card. No, he never saved his parents' photos in his phone. Phone number, the security guard couldn't possibly know Song Wanhwa's phone number. I have nothing to prove it, but have you ever seen someone looking for his mother everywhere? I really have something urgent to do. How about this, wait a minute, I'll make a phone call and ask. After that, the security guard took out his cell phone and said, Hello, Mr. Wang, I'm security guard Xiao Li. There's a kid at the door who says he's Mr. Song's son. Right, what? I know. Can I go in? Zhang Chen asked hurriedly when he saw the security guard put down the phone. Human life is at stake. Go in? Hehe, you almost got away with it. Where did you come from, you little brat? Get out of here right now, the security guard said viciously. Boss Wang said that Boss Song doesn't have a son at all. Hearing this, Zhang Chen was stunned. Did Song Wanhua intentionally not let him in? But he couldn't care less. Money was more important. Who is your Mr. Wang? Let's see who dares to stop me today. After saying that, Zhang Chen walked forward aggressively. Chapter 18, Sister Wang Yinru. Kid, you're feeling uncomfortable, aren't you? The security guard grabbed Zhang Chen's arm. After all, he had served in the army for several years, so it was easy for him to deal with this underage high school student. He pulled so hard but couldn't move it. Zhang Chen turned around and punched him. Bang! The security guard was punched in the stomach unexpectedly. He squatted down holding his stomach and groaning. I didn't expect that this kid looked weak, but he was punched so cruelly. Zhang Chen sneered and used the first variation of the five emperor's fist. After squatting down, he was not idle. He picked up the walkie-talkie and started yelling at the security guard inside. Zhang Chen ignored him, turned around and walked quickly into the building, but as soon as he walked in, several security guards surrounded him. "Stop, who are you?" At this time, the security guard who was knocked down pushed open the door and said, "We can't let him in. This guy is a martial artist. He must have some intentions." Seeing his look and hearing his words, the security guards all became serious. Although Xiao Li had just joined the company a few days ago, he had served in the army. They were no match for this kid. It seemed that things were a little troublesome. Zhang Chen was even more miserable in his heart. He didn't expect that so many troubles would arise after joining his own company. No one actually recognized him, the eldest son. "Go ahead and hold him down first," the leading security guard suddenly said. Several people rushed over at once, and the company employees passing by stopped and looked at the scene in surprise. Zhang Chen's eyes turned cold. "It seems that if I don't teach them a lesson, there's no way to get in." Bang! The first two security guards who rushed over were instantly knocked to the ground by Zhang Chen. The five emperor's fist was as fast as lightning, and even the first change was beyond the ability of these security guards to resist. Immediately afterwards, the three security guards behind were also knocked down by Zhang Chen's punch. It seems that these security guards are pampered and can't even withstand a punch from me. They are even worse than the mushroom-headed guy. "Stop!" A majestic voice came, and then a woman in her 20s walked out of the elevator. She was wearing a professional suit, had a proud figure, delicate features, and was full of seduction in her every move. "Mr. Wang." Several security guards endured the pain, got up and shouted. President Wang nodded to them and said, "There is nothing for you to do now, go and get busy." The security guards hesitated to speak and limped away. "Come with me," Mr. Wang said to Zhang Chen. "Do you know that I'm Mr. Song's son?" Zhang Chen asked curiously in the elevator. "Yes," Mr. Wang replied casually. "Then why do you say that Mr. Song doesn't have a son like me?" Zhang Chen said angrily. "Yes." Zhang Chen was completely infuriated by her. It would be fine if it was any other time, but now it was a matter of life and death. Did she really think that Zhang Chen, was easy to bully? He suddenly pressed Mr. Wang against the wall of the elevator. A trace of panic flashed across Mr. Wang's eyes, and his previous calm expression disappeared. He struggled hard. But how could her strength compare to Zhang Chen's? The more she struggled, the more Zhang Chen enjoyed it. The elevator suddenly became quiet. Mr. Wang stared at Zhang Chen with flaming eyes. The soft and elastic body almost made the young boy Zhang Chen collapse. "Remember, Zhang Chen, am not someone who is easy to bully. This is the consequence of your underestimation of me today." After saying that, he grabbed Mr. Wang fiercely. Bite! The elevator door just opened, and Zhang Chen walked out as if nothing had happened. What surprised him was that President Wang also acted as if nothing had happened. He straightened his clothes and didn't care about the eyes of the people around him at all. Zhang Chen walked into her office, and Ms. Wang resumed her strong woman demeanor. "I want to see my mother," Zhang Chen said straight to the point. "Mr. Song is in a meeting, tell me if you have anything to say." "I want money." Mr. Wang sneered, "How much?" 300,000, Zhang Chen said, suppressing his anger. Mr. Wang laughed even harder, and seeing this smile, Zhang Chen felt a pain in his heart for no reason. "I'm sorry, I don't have the right to give you so much money." Mr. Wang leaned against the table and looked at him contemptuously. "Mr. Song is in conference room number 2, please go ahead." Zhang Chen snorted coldly and walked out. When he reached the door, he suddenly looked back and his eyes fell on the position card on the table. "Wang Yinru. I'll remember you." Chapter 19 Song Wanhua's Pressure. Zhang Chen came to the door of conference room number 2. He knew that his mother must be holding an important meeting at this time, and Wang Yinru did not attend. It must be a shareholders' meeting of the highest level. He hesitated for a moment, then thought of the desperate look in Skinny Monkey's eyes and Aunt Wang's kindness to him, and extended his hand without hesitation. Song Wanhua glanced at the directors below, but her hands were clenched under the table. This was the first time in so many years that she felt the situation was somewhat out of control. Among so many directors, not a single one agreed with her plan. I once again ask everyone to study my plan on their own. It will benefit the company and everyone, Song Wanhua said firmly, but his voice already had a hint of fatigue. Mr. Song, I feel that this plan is still inappropriate. We currently do not have enough funds to implement this plan. If we take out a loan, it will aggravate the company's financial crisis, said the director sitting on Song Wanhua's left. His name is Wu Jing, and he is the company's second largest shareholder. Song Wanhua looked at him in surprise. She didn't expect him to express his thoughts so directly. This was the first time he had been at odds with her in all these years. Song Wanhua's face suddenly turned gloomy. At this moment, the door of the conference room was creaked open and a young man poked his head in. Others don't know Zhang Chen, but these shareholders have worked with Song Wanhua for so many years, how could they not know him? Hey, isn't this Mr. Song's eldest son? What a rare guest. Har har, could it be that the security guard downstairs couldn't stop this young man? Look at what you said. With a mother as powerful as President Song, let alone those young security guards, even us old guys can't do anything about it. Before Song Wanhua could speak, the shareholders started talking. The originally serious meeting room turned into a vegetable market because of Zhang Chen's arrival. Mr. Song, how can we allow anyone to interrupt such an important meeting today? It seems that Mr. Song does not take the company's affairs to heart. Then let's not hold the meeting today, Wu Jing said coldly, then picked up the folder and turned to leave. He walked up to Zhang Chen, looked at him with disdain, shook his head and walked out. Zhang Chen glared at him fiercely. This old man obviously doesn't get along with my mother, and he dares to bully me. If I wasn't in a hurry to get the money, I would kick you to death. Song Wanhua finally couldn't bear it anymore. He slammed the table hard and stood up. Zhang Chen, who let you in? Don't you know we are in a meeting? Song Wanhua said loudly. I know you are in a meeting, but I have something urgent to do and can't care about so much, Zhang Chen explained. Song Wanhua was stunned. Did he blame his son wrongly? If you have anything to say, can't you wait until you get home tonight to talk about it? Song Wanhua's tone had softened. Mom, I need money, 300,000, urgently. Hearing this, the other directors all laughed. Har har, Mr. Song's son is so talented, asking for money is a matter of urgency. That's not good. There might be a creditor waiting to collect the money outside. I don't think so. Maybe he got some girl pregnant and she's waiting to be dealt with. The directors actually started joking while sitting on their chairs. Song Wanhua's hands were shaking with anger, but he knew he couldn't let his son make a scene here and make these directors laugh at him. Let's end the meeting here today, Song Wanhua said coldly, then walked out. When he passed by Zhang Chen, he roared in a low voice, Zhang Chen, come here. Zhang Chen was stunned. His mother had never spoken to him in such a harsh tone. He realized now that he was too anxious just now and did not think so much, which made these shareholders laugh at him. He looked back at the directors who were still smiling, and seemed to understand his mother's situation. You are just a bunch of parasites. Without my mother, how could you sit here today? I am not someone you can laugh at. I will deal with you after I finish the important things. Zhang Chen thought viciously in his heart that not only was his body much stronger now, his mind was also much smarter. He believed that if he continued to practice the concentration technique he would become even smarter. As long as he wanted to do business, it would be a piece of cake. Chapter 20 Enlightenment. As I walked into Song Wanhua's office, Song Wanhua slammed the door shut. Zhang Chen, you said you are so old, do you know how important today's meeting is? Because of your appearance, I have lost the opportunity to promote the plan, and in front of all the directors. Song Wanhua sat tiredly in the chair, rubbing his temples with both hands. Did I make you lose face in front of the directors? Zhang Chen said lightly. When Song Wanhua heard this, there was some panic in his eyes, but he still didn't explain. I want 300,000 this afternoon, Zhang Chen continued. Isn't the pocket money I give you every month enough? Tell me, what trouble have you gotten into this time that requires such a large sum of money? Song Wanhua said, raising his voice. Antoine is sick and needs money for surgery. Zhang Chen said truthfully. Zhang Chen, it's this trick again. Haven't you used enough excuses like this? Song Wanhua suddenly stood up and said, staring at Zhang Chen. Since you don't believe me, just let me borrow it. I'll write you the IOU right away. Zhang Chen was also angry. so he went to the table, picked up a pen and paper, and actually wrote the IOU. Song Wanhua stared at Zhang Chen blankly, not knowing what he was thinking. Take a look. I will definitely return the 300,000 to you. Zhang Chen placed the IOU in front of his mother. Song Wanhua sighed and took out a bank card from the drawer. Take it. The password is your birthday. Mom is not stingy with the money. I do all this for you. I hope you can understand. Hearing this, Zhang Chen felt a pain in his heart. Seeing his mother's haggard appearance, she no longer looked like the strong woman she usually is. Mom, I'm sorry, Zhang Chen cried in his heart, but he couldn't say it out loud. He picked up the bank card and ran out. Aunt Wang's surgery was important, and he could talk about other things later. When he went out, he happened to meet Wang Yinru standing outside the door. She saw the bank card in Zhang Chen's hand and smiled, her eyes full of contempt and ridicule. Zhang Chen didn't care about anything else and walked straight towards the elevator. Yinru, I'm sorry to make you laugh, Song Wanhua said when he saw Wang Yinru coming in. Mr. Song, the child is still young. He will understand your good intentions in the future. From beginning to end, Wang Yinru never said a bad word about Zhang Chen, and never mentioned anything about what happened in the elevator. Zhang Chen ran into the hospital panting. Shouhou and Wang Xiaohu were already waiting for him in the lobby on the first floor. They hurried to their finance department to pay the fee for the operation. Zhang Chen did not go to see Aunt Wang, and asked Shouhou not to tell her that he had taken the surgery fee, so that she could have the surgery with peace of mind. After doing all this, Zhang Chen and Wang Xiaohu walked out together. Brother Chen, don't worry. The doctor said there will be no problem with the operation. Wang Xiaohu comforted Zhang Chen when he saw that he was depressed. Zhang Chen nodded and forced a smile. Huzi, do you think I have been a failure in all these years? Wang Xiaohu was stunned when he heard this, and looked at him puzzledly. Brother Chen, how could you fail? Your family has so much money, you can smoke Da Zhonghua every day, and eat delicacies from land and sea. In my eyes, it's like a god's life. Zhang Chen patted his shoulder, smiled, and took out a pack of great china from his arms. Smoke less. Wang Xiaohu quickly took it with a flattering smile on his face. For so many years, in order to gain everyone's recognition, I gave cigarettes to the boys and bought snacks for the girls every week, but in the end they just got used to my cigarettes and snacks and ignored my existence. Today, when I saw my mother's sad face, I realized how much of a failure I was in life. I don't want to be that kind of person. I want to rely on my own strength to make others look up to me. I will no longer use despicable means to pursue the person I like. At this moment, Zhang Chen's eyes were full of determination. Wang Xiaohu suddenly turned around and glanced at Zhang Chen. Is this an illusion? Why does it feel like Brother Chen is different from before? Chapter 21. Who is the gangster? When I came back from the hospital, it was already past 2 in the afternoon. If I entered the school gate at this time, the security guard would definitely deduct points. If the Tigress teacher in charge found out, the consequences would be serious. The two of them simply went to a nearby internet cafe. Not long after they sat in front of the computers, a few young people with dyed red hair walked in. As soon as the network administrator saw them, he came over to greet them. Brother Kuan is here. Would you like to play with a few machines? I'll treat you, the network administrator said with a smile. Let's stop playing. It's good that you have this intention. Brother Kuan patted the network administrator's shoulder and walked directly towards Zhang Chen. Walking behind Zhang Chen, who was listening to music with headphones on and nodding his head, Brother Kuan looked around with a smile, then stretched out his hand and patted Zhang Chen on the head. Bang! Oh my god! Zhang Chen stood up immediately, rubbed his head and looked angrily at Brother Kuan with red hair. Brother Kuan is 1.78 meters tall, half a head taller than Zhang Chen, but he is too thin and doesn't have any charisma. You idiot, why are you hitting me? Wang Xiaohu also stood up and looked at Brother Kuan and the others with a wary look on his face. Your name is Zhang Chen? Brother Kuan asked with a smile, and when he saw Zhang Chen nod, he continued, that's right, I'm going to hit you. After saying that, he pulled away the chair that Zhang Chen was sitting on and kicked him. Ho! Zhang Chen's eyes became sharp, and he quickly dodged to the side, turned around and threw a punch, the first change of the 5 Emperor's fist. Bang! Brother Kuan suddenly walked backwards, and the 2 little girls who were surfing the internet behind him screamed in fright and quickly moved away. Brother Kuan. His younger brother finally reacted and hurried over to help Brother Kuan up. I saw that Brother Kuan's mouth was bleeding and his left face was swollen like a peach, which showed the power of Zhang Chen's punch. Damn it, what the hell, just kill him. Brother Kuan said vaguely. The younger brothers often hang out on the streets, and fighting is commonplace for them. Now they were very angry when they saw their boss being beaten, so they rolled up their sleeves and jumped towards Zhang Chen. Oh my god, you are rebelling against us. When Shouhou glared with his eyes wide open, picked up the stool next to him and was about to smash it at the thugs, but as soon as he raised the stool, he saw a scene that stunned him. Zhang Chen swung his fists left and right, and in the blink of an eye, several thugs fell to the ground. Brother Chen, what medicine did you take today? It's so strong. Wang Xiaohu asked with wide eyes. Deli pills, I'll give you a few later. Zhang Chen clapped his hands and said with a smile. Wang Xiaohu looked at him doubtfully. Brother Kuan was so stunned by the scene that he even forgot the pain on his face. Don't you want to hit me? Come on. Zhang Chen walked over with a sneer. Brother Kuan stepped back and waved at Zhang Chen. Brother Chen, right. It's a misunderstanding. I just wanted to play a joke on you, Hehe. Brother Kuan's smile is uglier than his crying. Punks like them hang out on the streets all day long, and they are the best at begging for mercy when they can't win a fight. Fuck your misunderstanding. Zhang Chen suddenly punched him. He, Zhang Chen, was not one to suffer loss. How dare you hit him on the head? With a bang, the punch that was meant for his face hit his waist instead because he turned around to run. With a scream, Brother Kuan fell directly at the door of the internet cafe. Brother, let's just forget it. Give me some face and let it go. The network administrator came over and grabbed Zhang Chen and said. This network administrator Zhang Chen is quite familiar and is said to be somewhat famous in this area. Zhang Chen nodded. For Brother Xiaodao's sake, I won't hit you. Tell me who asked you to come here. Zhang Chen, don't be so proud. My eldest brother is Big Brother Guar. It was Big Brother Guar who asked me to deal with you this time. Zhang Chen was slightly surprised. Big Brother Guar was a well-known gangster with a great reputation in the city, but he couldn't understand why Big Brother Guar would be so mean to him. Seeing Zhang Chen didn't say anything, Brother Kuan struggled to get up. Are you scared? Brother Daguar told you to stay away from your teacher Jing Shuang. What's that called? Yes, it's a toad that doesn't bite, but it disgusts people. Hearing this, Zhang Chen understood clearly in his heart, Jing Shuang? It was most likely Zhang Han's doing. Zhang Han, are you trying to play this on me? Zhang Chen snorted in his heart. Seeing Zhang Chen's expression constantly changing and his silence, Brother Kuan became bolder. You beat us up like this, so we have to pay for medical expenses and damages. $20,000, and I promise not to tell Big Brother. How about that? 20,000 yuan. Why don't you just go and rob? Wang Xiaohu said exaggeratedly. Hehe, for others, 20,000 yuan is an astronomical figure, but for the eldest son of Perfect Group, it's just drizzle. Brother Kuan said with a grin. It's really not much, Zhang Chen nodded happily. Wang Xiaohu looked at him puzzledly. He knew Zhang Chen's pocket money. The 20,000 yuan should be enough for his pocket money for a year. Okay, straightforward, you are worthy of being the eldest son, Brother Kuan said with a grin. These little gangsters were often beaten up, and this little injury was nothing to them, and they even got such a huge sum of money. Give it to me, 20,000 yuan, not a penny less, otherwise I will beat you to death. Zhang Chen stretched out his hand in front of Brother Kuan. Everyone around stared at him with wide eyes. Zhang Chen's words confused them all. You must have made a mistake. It was you who gave us the money. Brother Kuan said, covering his left cheek. Bang! Zhang Chen slapped him on the right cheek again. How dare you ask me for money when you are like this? You! Brother Kuan stood up and pointed at Zhang Chen angrily, but before he could say anything, Zhang Chen slapped him again. Hurry up and take the money. Zhang Chen said aggressively. Brother Chen, forget it, Wang Xiaohu said fearfully. Students like them are naturally afraid of these gangsters. Zhang Chen, stop fighting. Please spare them for my sake, the network administrator said with sweat on his forehead. You are lucky today. Take out all the money in your pocket and I will spare you, said Zhang Chen, kicking the gangster next to him a few more times. Brother Kuen's face was so swollen that it looked like two big buns were stuck on it. He took out a wrinkled wallet from his pocket and took out 200 yuan from it. Damn, so poor. Zhang Chen grabbed the money and shouted at the remaining gangsters, "Where are yours?" After some searching, they found 500 yuan from these people, and the gangsters fled out of the internet cafe in shame. Oh, Zhang Chen, you are having a good time, but do you know who that big Guar brother is? He will not let you go, the network administrator said with a sad face. Not only will he not let Zhang Chen go, even his internet cafe will be implicated. I'm sorry, brother Xiaodao, you can see that they were the ones who started the trouble first, Zhang Chen said apologetically, but he was very excited in his heart. He hadn't felt so mighty in all these years. Now that he had the 5 Emperor's fist, he was still afraid of Brother Bird. The two of them simply left the internet cafe. Only a fool would wait for those thugs to cause trouble again. Zhang Chen went straight back to the villa. He had only learned the first variation of the 5 Emperor's fist so far. He had offended more and more people recently, so he had to practice the subsequent variations to ensure his safety. Arriving at the training room on the second floor, he sat cross-legged on the floor and began to recall the key points of the second variation of the 5 Emperor's fist. The second transformation is the connection leg. It seems to be very powerful. Whoosh! He spent the entire afternoon practicing the second variation, twisting his leg into an incredible state. If it were a normal person, the leg would definitely be crippled. Even though he had reached the body tempering realm, he still felt a little overwhelmed. Fortunately, by dinner time I had finally succeeded in practicing the second transformation. He walked to the mirror and looked at himself in the mirror. It seemed that after practicing the 5 Emperor's secret technique, his whole person had changed. In just a few days, his height had grown by 2 centimeters, and his eyes were bright and his face was rosy. He was no longer as wretched as before. Hey! He growled and kicked several times into the air. Bang! A slight sound of breaking through the air was heard, and his mind moved, and the first change was connected with the second change. As expected, the power of these two changes when used together is much greater than when used individually. I wonder how powerful they will be if all of them are successfully cultivated. Of course, this is just a thought. These two most basic changes are so difficult, not to mention the ones that come after that. Didi. The garage door was opened. Huh? Mother came back so early today. Zhang Chen, are you back? After a while, Song Wanhua's voice came from the living room downstairs. Zhang Chen sighed. If he skipped classes in the afternoon, he would definitely be scolded by his mother again. When he heard his mother calling him, he walked out reluctantly. Mom is tired today, so she bought some food. Let's come down and have a quick bite, came Song Wanhua's slightly tired voice. Zhang Chen was stunned. It seems that something is wrong with my mother today. Zhang Chen walked downstairs and saw his mother's slightly thin figure busy in the living room. Several dishes had already been placed on the dining table, all of which were Zhang Chen's favorites. Mom, why did you come back so early today? Song Wanhua sighed, but didn't turn around. Zhang Chen, you have to know that whatever your mother does is for you. Zhang Chen was bewildered and felt very depressed during the meal. Song Wanhua was completely different from the strong woman she used to be. Zhang Chen wanted to ask several questions but swallowed his words back when he saw his mother's expression. After dinner, my mother went back to her room to rest. I don't know what happened, but the nanny hasn't come recently, and the huge villa seems much quieter. At night, when the moon was bright in the sky, Zhang Chen began to practice the 5 Emperor's breathing technique. Endless starlight shone on his body. As the technique was practiced, the power of the starlight was absorbed by his cells, and his body became stronger and stronger. Suddenly, he opened his eyes and the moonlight dissipated from his body. After practicing the 5 Emperor's mind concentration technique, not only did his mind become smarter, but his perception of the surroundings also became clearer. Just now, he actually vaguely felt the sound of light footsteps coming up the second floor. Chapter 22 Teacher Fang Qing's Reward. Hearing the footsteps, he was a little surprised. This was definitely not Song Wanhua's voice. He had already entered the body tempering realm, and with his current body, he definitely couldn't walk to this level. This meant that this person must be a master. This villa has an early warning system developed by my father, so strangers definitely cannot get in. So it is obvious who the person who came is. Zhang Chen smiled. He didn't know what Su Ziqiang was going to do. Since she wants to see it, let's give her a surprise. Thinking of this, he took off his clothes and lay on his back on the bed. Under the moonlight, something in his body was stirring. Thinking of Su Ziqiang's pretty appearance last time, this part of his body was rising like the 5-star red flag. Su Ziqiang, wearing a pair of sunglasses on her head and holding a silver needle in her hand, came to Zhang Chen's door and stopped to listen for a while. Then a smile appeared on her face, and the silver needle in her hand gently penetrated through the crack in the door. This is actually a miniature pinhole camera. The next moment, Su Ziqiang opened her mouth wide, her face flushed, and she quickly took back the silver needle in her hand and ran back to her room in shame. Zhang Chen, you are such a violent idiot, you are such a bad guy. As soon as she returned to the room, Su Ziqiang started cursing with gritted teeth. This was the second time she saw Zhang Chen's body. For a girl as pure as a blank sheet of paper as her, it was simply driving her crazy. Zhang Chen sat up from the bed, looking at the moonlight outside and fell into deep thought. This Su Ziqiang is definitely not my cousin, so who is she? She is actually an expert, so what is his purpose? He shook his head suddenly. Since his father brought him back, he would definitely not be harmful to him. Maybe he was his bodyguard. Bodyguard? Hehe, if you dare to peek at me, I won't be polite to you. As if he had thought of something, Zhang Chen laughed. The next day, Zhang Chen got up and found that Su Ziqiang had left the villa. He didn't care. He ate something and took the bus to school. Su Ziqiang didn't give him a good look for the whole morning. He naturally knew what it was about. This girl had her own pride. Even if he tried to please her now, he would be in vain. When school was about to end at noon, his cell phone suddenly vibrated. When he opened it, he saw a text message from an unfamiliar number. Guess who I am? Zhang Chen was stunned. Who would be so boring? But he was even more bored now. Is it Shirley from Jinsha KTV? After a while, the phone vibrated again. No, guess again. Zhang Chen raised his lips slightly and replied, is it Mengsha from Chinyu Foot Massage? There was silence for a few minutes, and finally a message was sent to Zhang Chen's phone. Zhang Chen, I'm your English teacher Fang Qing. Please wait for me in front of the number 3 teaching building after school. Zhang Chen's mouth was opened so wide that a duck egg could fit in it. The beautiful teacher Fang Qing was making a big move now. After school, he didn't care about Su Ziqiang and Wang Shouhou, and rushed towards teaching building number 3. When he walked over, he saw Fang Qing standing there, looking at him with a strange smile on her face. She was wearing a white dress today, black stockings on her feet, her hair was tied up high, and she stood there looking very charming. Teacher Fang, I'm here. Zhang Chen said with a dry throat. This beautiful teacher is simply a killer for little boys like them. Hey, follow me. Zhang Chen didn't even dare to ask where they were going. The joke he made before was a bit too much. He was now wondering if he was no longer pure in the heart of this beautiful teacher. Alas! You will suffer the consequences if you do evil. Soon, the two arrived at the teacher's dormitory. Fang Qing's dormitory was on the 3rd floor. When they opened the door, a fresh fragrance hit them in the face. Zhang Chen sniffed it vigorously a few times. It was not as strong as perfume, nor as deliberate as floral scent. It gave people a very comfortable feeling. Zhang Chen, didn't I promise to give you a reward last time? I will personally cook a few dishes for you at noon today. Just consider it as a reward. Fang Qing changed into slippers. Her height was almost the same as Zhang Chen's. She turned around to talk to Zhang Chen, and her breath just hit Zhang Chen's face. Look at what you have accomplished. Seeing Zhang Chen staring at her, Fang Qing snorted coldly and said, who is prettier, the teacher or Shirley and Mengsha? R. Zhang Chen woke up instantly, but he stammered and didn't know what to say. Seeing Zhang Chen's embarrassed look, Fang Qing walked into the kitchen with a big laugh. She seemed to feel that it was inappropriate to talk to students like this, so she just focused on cooking and didn't tease Zhang Chen anymore. She wore an apron with a monkey pattern around her waist and danced gracefully in the kitchen, instantly transforming from a proud goddess into a pretty housewife. Zhang Chen finally recovered and looked around the room. He knew that many teachers from other places had single dormitories. This dormitory was a 1-bedroom, 1 living room type. The room was kept very tidy by Fang Qing. The windowsill was filled with flowers, and various small pendants added a lovely atmosphere to the room. He couldn't help but walk to the kitchen door and saw Fang Qing's slender waist. He really wanted to hug her. Of course, he was just fantasizing. "Teacher Fang, do you need my help? Go aside and wait patiently. What can you do to help?" Fang Qing shouted proudly. After a while, 2 dishes and a soup were served on the table. "They are all home-cooked dishes, so just eat them, young master," Fang Qing said jokingly as she took off her apron. Zhang Chen's mind was not on the dish at all. When he saw Fang Qing taking off her apron, he found it was even more delicious than the food. "Zhang Chen, there is another thing I asked you to come to dinner this time," Fang Qing said as she put the dish into her cherry-like mouth and chewed it slowly. I was wondering why she could be so kind." Zhang Chen thought to himself, but his face showed a flattered look. "Teacher Fang, what are you talking about? If you have anything to say, just tell me directly. Why do you ask me to come for dinner?" "I feel so embarrassed," said Zhang Chen while eating the food on the table with big mouthfuls. Fang Qing rolled her eyes at him and said, "The city is going to hold an English reading competition. I hope you can participate." Zhang Chen's eyes suddenly widened. "Teacher, you are kidding, I have never passed an English exam. This has nothing to do with your grades. Your spoken English was very pure when you were reciting the Bible in the last class." "Others couldn't hear it, but I could," Fang Qing said while staring at Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen felt guilty. Last time he had a breakthrough in the art of infusing spirits, he practiced English. He didn't expect that he had no problem reciting it now, but there were so many English words that he had no idea what they meant. "Teacher, this is not good," Zhang Chen said with a frown. "There are rewards." Fang Qing's eyes were filled with tears. She no longer looked like a teacher at this moment. In an instant, Zhang Chen's eyes widened, and his immunity to Fang Qing became negative. "So you agree?" The sugar content in Fang Qing's voice instantly increased. Zhang Chen nodded without even thinking about it. "That's good, let's eat." Fang Qing's face was already red, and she felt extremely embarrassed. She thought angrily, "Xu Jingya, you little slut, I don't believe I will lose to you in this competition." Thinking of the bet between them, her face became even redder. Zhang Chen recovered and realized that he had unknowingly agreed to let her participate in the reading competition. Hehe, this is not a big deal for Brother Chen. I originally wanted to keep a low profile. Now I just don't know what the reward from this beautiful teacher is. Seeing Fang Qing's rosy face, he suddenly put 2 mouthfuls of rice into his mouth. When Zhang Chen came out, he was already sweating profusely. Being alone in a room with teacher Fang Qing was simply torture. If he stayed any longer, he might be in danger of losing control of himself. In order to help him with his spoken English, teacher Fang specifically asked him to spare 2 days of evening self-study time every week to review his spoken English individually. Even Zhang Chen couldn't understand why she was so concerned about this reading competition. Logically speaking, there were not many prizes for a competition of this scale, and there were no special rewards for teachers. He shook his head and had to continue the afternoon class. When he returned to the classroom, many students were still lying on the table taking naps. Su Menjin was already sitting in her seat reading a book. It seemed that no matter how late she went to bed, this girl was always energetic and never dozed off. Su Menjin looked at Zhang Chen strangely, which made him feel creepy. Did she know about my visit to the beautiful teacher's dormitory? This shouldn't be the case. The lunch break was gradually passing, and students walked into the classroom in pairs of 3 or 2. Suddenly, a familiar figure appeared at the door, met Zhang Chen's eyes, smiled and waved at Zhang Chen. It turned out to be Mushroom Head, one of Bai Zhanfei's Vervajers. It's not even the 5-day appointment yet, what is he doing here? But this idiot is no match for me now. I'm too lazy to bother with him. Thinking of this, he took out his English and turned to the vocabulary list at the back to start memoizing. He attached great importance to this reading competition. This was a competition held in the city. If he made a small splash, his presence would be much stronger than if he had smoked a brush himself. The mushroom-headed guy outside the door was stunned. He didn't expect that Zhang Chen would dare to ignore him. Third brother is here. Who is the blind person who offended you? Sun Nan came over from behind and greeted the mushroom-headed guy. Mushroom Head is the third among the 4 King Kongs, so I call him third brother. Damn it, Zhang Chen from your class is so awesome. He ignored me when I called him out. Sun Nan raised his head. If it weren't for Brother Bai's sake, I would have punished this guy a long time ago. Sun Nan sneered in his heart. He had not yet settled the account with Zhang Chen for the toilet incident last time. Since Mushroom Head was here, maybe he could help him vent his anger. After all, Mushroom Head was a little mentally retarded, but he was really good at lending a hand. Third brother, just say the word and we'll teach this guy a lesson today, said Sun Nan, with a fierce look in his eyes. Okay. Mushroom Head nodded. In such a short while, Zhang Chen had already memorized 5 pages of words, and he had noticed Sun Nan walking towards him. Chapter 23 Zhang Xianyu angrily rescues Zhang Chen. Sun Nan and a few of his followers walked up to Zhang Chen and tapped his desk gently. Grandson, you're pretending really well. Can an idiot like you understand this English book? Zhang Chen looked up at him and said, Why, are you acting like someone else's dog again and coming here to bite people? That's pretty cool. Third brother is waiting outside. If you're a man, let's go out, Sun Nan said to Zhang Chen with a gloomy face. Zhang Chen glanced at the mushroom-headed man at the door, smiled faintly and said, Brother is still studying, I don't have time to talk nonsense with you. What he said was absolutely true. The reading competition would begin in 2 weeks, and he had to prepare well for teacher Fang Qing. I knew he was scared, what a coward. He's even more effeminate than a woman, and is also a fucking rich second generation. What rich second generation? Don't you know how his mother, Ms. Song, got to the top? Sun Nan's younger brothers started talking at once. Huh. Zhang Chen raised his head and narrowed his eyes. It didn't matter if she scolded himself, but he actually scolded her mother. Those rumors about her mother were his Achilles heel. Zhang Chen stood up from his seat instantly and punched the man in the mouth. Crash. Sun Nan's followers surrounded him. Damn it, you dare to do that. Sun Nan yelled loudly. He felt very embarrassed that his younger brother was beaten. What are you doing? Fighting in the classroom, do you want to be expelled? Gao Jun shouted from behind the crowd. He was tall and strong with a loud voice. Sun Nan and his younger brother really didn't dare to do anything after hearing this. Sun Zi, do you dare to go out? Zhang Chen had not planned to go out, but at this moment he was burning with anger. The scar buried deep in his heart was brought up again. Although that person might have said it inadvertently, he still could not let it go. He slammed his English book on the table and strode towards the door. The younger brother's mouth was swollen and his teeth were loosened after being beaten by him. He looked at Zhang Chen as if he wanted to eat him. Zhang Chen snorted in his heart. If he used all his strength, all the man's teeth would be knocked out. What do you want from me? Zhang Chen said coldly to the mushroom-headed guy. Mushroom Head suddenly felt uncomfortable with Zhang Chen's tone. In his impression, was Zhang Chen the timid, flattering lapdog? No matter how stupid he was, he became angry at Zhang Chen's tone. I'm out of money, hurry up and give me your wallet, said the mushroom head as he tried to snatch Zhang Chen's wallet. Zhang Chen sneered and punched him in the face, then kicked him in the stomach, with each punch and kick as smooth as flowing water. Bang! The mushroom head came into close contact with the wall of the corridor. Strangely, he curled up on the ground and couldn't even scream. His forehead was instantly covered with sweat. Zhang Chen sneered in his heart. The first 2 changes of the 5 Emperor's divine fist when connected together were indeed incredibly powerful. Even a big guy like Mushroom Head could be knocked to the ground with 1 blow. Of course, this was also because Mushroom Head had no defensive awareness at all. He also browsed the medical skills in the secret arts of the 5 Emperors and had a deep understanding of the structure of the human body. He controlled the strength and position of the kick just now without any deviation, which not only tortured Mushroom Head, but also saved his life. But this scene frightened Sun Nan and the others. They didn't care about Zhang Chen and tried to lift up Mushroom Head. Call 120 quickly, you idiot. Can't you see that third brother is in danger? Sun Nan shouted loudly, and his younger brother hurriedly took out his cell phone. Get out of the way, who is fighting? A majestic voice came from outside the crowd. The next moment, the surrounding students automatically made way for him, and a middle-aged man appeared in front of Zhang Chen. Seeing this man appear, many students around him immediately dispersed. Principal Li, Ma Yuguang is almost dying from being beaten by him. Sun Nan pointed at Zhang Chen and shouted loudly. Zhang Chen's heart sank. He was unexpectedly caught by Principal Lee. These things were going to be troublesome. Sure enough, Principal Lee's face darkened and he hurried to the side of the mushroom-headed boy. But the expression on Mushroom Head's face instantly relaxed, and he looked at the people around him in a daze. He was a little confused. He was in so much pain just now that he almost died. How come he is all right now? There is no pain at all. Third brother, what's wrong with you? Don't scare me. Were you beaten stupid by this kid? Sun Nam became even more worried when he saw his expression, and slapped the mushroom-headed guy's face a few times with his palm, turning his face red after a few slaps. Fuck you, you idiot. When the mushroom head reacted, he felt pain on his face and cursed it out loud. Just then, he saw Principal Lee squatting in front of him and looking at him gloomily. He was petrified instantly. Everyone come to my office. Principal Lee turned around and left angrily. Bang! In the principal's office, Principal Lee slammed the table angrily. Zhang Chen. Smoking, fighting, you were punished for a serious offense just a few days ago. Do you look like a student? Parents don't need to come this time. Just go back. You are expelled. And you, Maryugan, this isn't the first time you fought. You'll be punished severely. Zhang Chen suddenly raised his head. They both fought, but he was fired, but Maryuguan was fine. Principal, Zhang Chen just opened his mouth and was interrupted by Principal Lee. No need to say more. I have already informed the Political Education Department of the result. They will naturally process your expulsion procedures. Principal, your way of handling things is unfair. Zhang Chen was extremely angry but calmed down. What a joke. I'm the principal, and I have the final say on how to deal with you, Principal Lee sneered. Why, do you still want to beat me up? Seeing Zhang Chen's clenched fists, Principal Lee's smile widened. Zhang Chen, what are you doing? The mushroom-headed boy reacted and stretched out his hands to protect Principal Lee. Zhang Chen really wanted to beat up this hateful principal. In his extreme anger, his concentration technique actually started to run on its own. His mind gradually became clear, the anger in his heart also subsided a lot, and his clenched fists loosened. Hello, is this the security department? There are students causing trouble here, please come over right away, Principal Lee said in a heavy tone as he picked up the phone. Zhang Chen looked at all this coldly, his brain was now working at high speed, and soon he analyzed everything clearly. The best choice now was to say nothing and do nothing. After a while, several school security guards from the security department rushed in. It's him. Send him to the political education department to go through the expulsion procedures. If he resists or behaves violently, hand him over to the police directly, Principal Lee said righteously. Hearing the principal's words, two security guards came over with bared fangs and claws, and grabbed Zhang Chen's arm with a grin. He was unusually calm now and did not put up any unnecessary resistance. The two security guards were very strong. They twisted his hands behind his back and held them tightly. If Zhang Chen's body was not tougher than that of an ordinary person, his arms would have been broken by the two security guards. Mushroom Head was looking at Zhang Chen with glee. If the principal hadn't been there, he would have kicked Zhang Chen twice. Principal Lee waved to the two security guards, signaling them to take Zhang Chen to the political education department. At this moment, there was a hurried knock on the door. Principal Lee frowned, but before he could agree, the door was opened. Zheng Shuang walked in from outside and saw Zhang Chen being held down by two security guards. Her face immediately showed uncontrollable anger. What are you doing? The school hired you to protect the school's safety. Now you are attacking a student. This is not only dereliction of duty, but also a crime. Do you understand? Zheng Shuang spoke loudly, totally disregarding her image and forgetting that Principal Lee was still beside her. She would never have done such a thing under normal circumstances, but when she saw Zhang Chen being wronged, she became inexplicably angry and was completely out of control. The two security guards looked at Principal Lee together. After all, Zheng Shuang was also their leader. Xiaozheng, calm down. This student tried to attack me. If the security guard hadn't arrived in time, he would have succeeded. Principal Lee sighed. By the way, did you receive the message I sent you? Take this student to go through the withdrawal procedures. We can't teach such a student anymore. This is our mistake. Principal Lee looked extremely distressed. Zhang Chen had been looking at Jing Shuang since she came in. He was surprised that Jing Shuang became so angry because of him, and a deep warmth surged in his heart. Principal Li, I think this punishment is a bit severe. Zhang Chen has done many things that violated discipline before, but what happened today is definitely not his fault, Jing Shuang said quickly. I have already retrieved the surveillance video from the monitoring room. Principal Li, can you take a look? After saying that, she raised the phone in her hand. Principal Li looked at her silently. He didn't know why Jing Shuang wanted to protect Zhang Chen. He was also curious about how Jing Shuang retrieved the video in such a short time. Director Zheng, there is no need to say more. Just do as I say. Principal Li's face suddenly darkened, and then he said to the two security guards, take this student to Director Song of the Political Education Department for processing. Wait. Zheng Shuang shouted at the security guard, Principal Li has always been a role model for me to emulate, but I really don't agree with what he did today. I will tell my father about all this when I get back and let him judge right from wrong. Principal Li suddenly raised his head and looked at her in silence. After a while, he shook his head and said, there's no need to disturb him about such a small matter. I will definitely visit the teacher when I have time. Okay, I'll give you a favor today. You can take him away. Hearing this, Jing Shuang snorted coldly, without any hesitation, walked up to open the hands of the two security guards, dragged Zhang Chen and walked out of the principal's office. After everyone left, Principal Li picked up the phone with a gloomy face. Xiao Zhang, the matter was not done, and Xiao Jing brought out the old guy to pressure me. I can't do anything, Chapter 24, Being Molested by My Cousin. Zheng Shuang angrily dragged Zhang Chen all the way to the bottom of the office building. Zhang Chen was a little surprised. How could this little girl Jing be even more angry than him? Zhang Chen, don't worry. No one can embarrass you while I'm here. Zheng Shuang let go of Zhang Chen's hand and still said angrily. Zhang Chen kept looking at Jing Shuang. Today, Jing Shuang was particularly charming in Zhang Chen's eyes. Her actions today touched Zhang Chen very much. She was wearing a slim-fitting long skirt today. Looking at the ups and downs of her chest because of anger, Zhang Chen really wanted to dive in. It would be worth it even if he drowned there. Of course, he thought so. Logically speaking, Jing Shenyo was also the director of the Political and Educational Department. Not only did she not punish him for the fight today, she also spoke for him in front of the principal, which made him very puzzled. Director Zheng, what happened today is also my fault, Zhang Chen asked tentatively in a low voice. Unexpectedly, Jing Shuang waved her hands after hearing this. This has nothing to do with you. Principal Li and Zhang Han are very close. Even if you made a mistake today, you won't be expelled. I never thought that Principal Li would do such a ridiculous thing. Zheng Shuang's face was full of disgust. What a girl who hates evil. I like her. Zhang Chen praised in his heart. After all this commotion, a class period had passed. After separating from Jing Shuang, Zhang Chen returned to the classroom, but found that Su Ziqiang was not there. He felt a little strange because this girl was more serious than anyone else in class and never skipped classes. What happened to her today? He didn't listen to anything the teacher said for the whole afternoon. On the one hand, he was thinking about how to deal with Zhang Han, and on the other hand, he was wondering where Su Ziqiang had gone. He was now somewhat obsessed with this beautiful cousin. After school in the afternoon, he rushed home without even having time to eat. When he returned to their villa and saw Su Ziqiang sitting on the sofa, he felt inexplicably surprised. Unexpectedly, his mother Song Wanhua was also at home. Seeing Su Ziqiang's pale face, she became a little worried. Cousin, what's wrong with you? Zhang Chen walked over and asked. Su Ziqiang's weak appearance made him feel distressed. Alas, the fever has reached over 39 degrees, but this girl refuses to go to the hospital, Song Wanhua said worriedly. When I walked closer, I found that Su Ziqiang was so cold that her teeth were chattering and her lips were purple. Although she was covered with a thick blanket, she didn't feel warm at all. What surprised Zhang Chen even more was that there was white frost on Su Ziqiang's eyebrows. How could this happen if she had a fever? The black tiger was hiding in a tree outside the villa. Boss, Little Yellow Bird's strange disease broke out ahead of schedule, and this time it's more serious than ever before, Hehe whispered into his collar. Hehu's breathing became a little rapid. He wanted to rush in and take Su Ziqiang away several times, but the duty of an agent was already ingrained in his blood. There was silence for a few seconds. Wait and see what happens. Don't act rashly. Black Tiger was stunned, clenched his fists, his eyes were already a little bloodshot, waiting and watching. Don't they know that if the little yellow bird doesn't take the special pill, it will die? This is a cold-blooded animal. Zhang Chen pinched his chin and thought hard. His mind was now a treasure trove of medicine. He even suspected that the old man had stuffed all his life's medical knowledge into Zhang Chen's head. The knowledge was indeed profound, but you should classify it, it would be very troublesome to find it. Fortunately, I have practiced the art of concentration, and my mind is much sharper than before. However, Su Ziqiang's symptoms are so special that there is no way to match them to the symptoms. This Furong's constitution is similar to her symptoms. She has 5 attacks a year, and they are regular. It is even more difficult to deal with than menstruation. What? In serious cases, people will die? We need the 9-turn exorcistian pill? What is this? Zhang Chen's face gradually became solemn. He originally thought that her illness was just a common cold, but now it seems that it is not the case at all. It is very similar to Furong's physique. This physique is rare in a century. Everyone who has this physique is a martial arts genius. But the disadvantage is that this kind of physique will suffer a small disaster every year, and a big disaster once in 10 years. Only the 9-turns Tsuyin pill can alleviate the disaster and save lives, but this approach is tantamount to drinking poison to quench thirst. After taking this medicine 10 times, it will lose its effect and the disaster will get worse. According to medical records, it is difficult for people with this kind of physique to live past the age of 20, and this is only possible with the 9-turn exorcist pill. The more information burst out from his mind, the deeper Zhang Chen's heart sank. Could it be that such a stunningly beautiful woman was going to die? Zhang Chen's forehead was covered with sweat. There must be a way, there must be. His mind started to work rapidly. Acupuncture can temporarily save your life. To cure it completely, you need to meet someone with Chilean physique, and you need to be married to her. Zhang Chen smiled bitterly. This person with Chilean physique is a martial arts genius that is hard to come by in 1,000 years. If he is one of them, how great it would be, and he can stay with her for the rest of his life. There was no time to think about it. Su Ziqiang's life was at stake. He couldn't find someone with the Chilean physique, but he could barely perform acupuncture. But the next moment, his heart sank. This acupuncture actually required the cooperation of Xuanli. Only when entering the Shen level could Xuanli be generated. He was only at the first level of body tempering now and was still a long way from reaching the Shen level. Moan. Su Ziqiang's condition seemed to be getting worse. Her pretty face was covered with white frost and her expression was distorted with pain. No, we have to send him to the hospital immediately, Song Wanhua exclaimed, picking up the phone and about to dial 120. Mom, don't. Zhang Chen hurriedly tried to stop them. How could those doctors understand the special physique of Furong? If they treated her with ordinary methods, she would only die faster. Song Wanhua looked at Zhang Chen in surprise, not understanding why Zhang Chen also disagreed to send Su Ziqiang to the hospital, but she still put down the phone. Zhang Chen hurried back to his room and took out the silver needles. He had prepared these silver needles when he first came into contact with medicine that day. Although he did not know the mysterious power, acupuncture on the acupoints should be able to relieve the symptoms. He held Su Ziqiang, who was lying on the sofa, in his arms. Although she had a high fever and her body temperature was also very high, as soon as he held her in his arms, a chill that penetrated his soul surged into Zhang Chen's body, making Zhang Chen grimace with cold. Zhang Chen, what's wrong with you? Song Wanhua looked at Zhang Chen in surprise. She didn't feel so painful when she was hugging Su Ziqiang just now. Wasn't it just that she had a high fever and felt a little hot? Zhang Chen quickly shook his head, endured the cold, and picked up the silver needle from the coffee table. At this moment, Su Ziqiang suddenly clung to Zhang Chen's arms like a kitten, her hands tightly hugging Zhang Chen's waist, and a comfortable look appeared on her face. Zhang Chen's mother looked at the two of them suspiciously. The scene between them at the moment was inappropriate for children. Mom, stop looking and go pour some hot water, Zhang Chen said awkwardly. Su Ziqiang's body was even hotter at this moment, and the coldness in her bones was also eliminated. However, at this moment, she was just lying on Zhang Chen like an octopus. Such a proud and charming girl made him react instantly. How to do acupuncture? Which needle should be used? He was very confused. After a while, Song Wanhua placed a large cup of hot water on the coffee table. Seeing the two of them still hugging each other tightly, he frowned. Zhang Chen, are you two hiding something from me? Mom, it's already so late. She is in a complete coma now. Can't you see it? Zhang Chen explained helplessly, but he felt extremely comfortable physically. Song Wanhua reluctantly believed it. However, she refused to leave. She sat on the sofa and watched the two of them vigilantly. She learned about Su Ziqiang's identity from Zhang Morshan, but she was afraid that Zhang Chen was too young to worry about these things. Su Ziqiang's identity is not ordinary, she can't let her son do whatever he wants. Zhang Chen reluctantly used the silver needle to prick her acupuncture points according to his memory, only to find that he had overthought before. The silver needle had no effect on her without the effect of mysterious power. Her pretty face kept rubbing in Zhang Chen's arms, her complexion gradually turned red, and the painful expression from before had long disappeared. Song Wanhua really couldn't bear to watch it anymore and ordered Zhang Chen to let go, but Zhang Chen became even more depressed because his hand didn't move at all. Su Ziqiang's hands were very strong, and the mother and son tried very hard to pry her hands open but failed. Half an hour later, Su Ziqiang finally opened her eyes. As soon as she opened her eyes, she knew that her strange illness had recurred. Then she knew that she was alive, which could barely be considered a happy thing. But at this moment she felt really comfortable, as if she had never had this feeling since she was a child. Only after being tortured by that strange disease could she understand the preciousness of this feeling at this moment. But why was it so comfortable? She raised her head slightly and saw a familiar smiling face floating in front of her. It took me a long time to react. Crash. She quickly stood up and straightened her clothes. Zhang Chen, what are you doing? She shouted angrily. She had never been hugged by a man since she was a child. Zhang Chen was dumbfounded. Damn, this girl turned against him after taking advantage of him. Ahem, Ziqiang, calm down. Things are not what you think, Song Wanhua said awkwardly. Su Ziqiang felt relieved when she saw Song Wanhua was beside her, but she still didn't look happy. After all, her virginity was taken away by Zhang Chen. Thinking of the scene just now, her body seemed to be stuck to him. This was too embarrassing. Without waiting for Zhang Chen to explain, she hurried back to their house. This kind of thing would only become more awkward the more she explained. Besides, her body was sticky and she felt very uncomfortable at the moment. When I returned to the room, I found that except for my face, my whole body was covered with a layer of white stains. I hurried to the bathroom to take a shower. After showering, I was surprised to find that my skin was crystal clear, just like sheep fat. More importantly, was it so easy to get over the strange disease this time? She couldn't understand why she had to take the pills every time. However, thinking back to the feeling before, she became deeply addicted like opium, and a hint of greed flashed in her eyes. This was incredible for an agent. Was it Zhang Chen's embrace? It seems that I wronged him just now. Su Ziqiang suddenly felt a little sorry. Chapter 25 Zhang Chen vs. Brother Fei. The next morning, when Zhang Chen went downstairs, he saw several plates of pickles on the dining table. When he got closer, he saw a note next to them. Zhang Chen, I was sorry for what happened yesterday. Thank you. Seeing these words, one can imagine that Su Ziqiang must have blushed when she wrote them. He couldn't understand why Su Ziqiang, who was obviously a strong girl, had a conservative and shy side. The porridge and pickles were finished in just a few bites. It has to be said that Su Ziqiang's cooking skills are much better than Zhang Chen's, or it can be said that what Zhang Chen cooked is not edible at all. As soon as I walked to the classroom door, I saw a few people standing there. The classmates around me stopped and pointed from time to time. These people were Bai Zhanfei and his Vervadgerers. Seeing Zhang Chen coming, these people walked up and surrounded him. Zhang Chen, you're pretty awesome. I didn't realize you were so talented. Bai Zhanfei said with a smile, looking natural, like an old friend of Zhang Chen. Hehe, what's the matter? Are you addicted to getting beaten? Zhang Chen did not answer Bai Zhanfei's words directly, but looked at Mushroom Head and Sun Nan with ill intentions. These two people suffered a lot at his hands. Hearing this, Mushroom Head rushed up and the people next to him immediately pulled him back. Okay, if you have the guts, let's make an appointment at noon and solve it. Bai Zhanfei said calmly. It must be said that the boss always acts like a boss. Several girls next to him looked at Bai Jianfei with beautiful eyes. His handsome appearance and unique temperament had a fatal attraction to these little girls. Zhang Chen nodded and said, "Then let's release them at the school gate at noon." He didn't want to fight in school and cause trouble for Jing Shuang. Bai Jianfei walked away with his men, and Zhang Chen returned to the classroom. Su Ziqiang was already sitting on the desk. Sun Nan sneered at Zhang Chen from a distance. Zhang Chen certainly didn't care about his opinion, but Fang Xiaoya's eyes became more disgusted, which made him feel a little irritated. "Can't you just be quiet? I've asked about Bai Jianfei, he's a master of internal martial arts, you might be in trouble," Su Ziqiang said to Zhang Chen in a low voice. Zhang Chen was stunned. Bai Jianfei was indeed a martial artist, but he was not bad either. He could knock down the mushroom-headed guy with one move. No matter how powerful Bai Jianfei was, he would not be his opponent. "I noticed that your moves in the previous fights were somewhat special. Have you practiced martial arts?" Su Ziqiang asked curiously. This question has been bothering him for many days. After recent observations, Zhang Chen is definitely not a weak scholar. He is much stronger than a street thug. Zhang Chen looked up at her. She had quietly gone upstairs that day just to test his strength, and now she asked him directly. Hehe, let me tell you. A few days ago, I went to Longzhou Mountain for an outing and fell into a cave. Guess what? Zhang Chen said mysteriously. It turned out to be the cave of an unparalleled master. The master was still alive. As soon as I entered, he passed on all his life skills to me. Don't look down on me now. I'm not that great. I tell you, in a few more years, I will definitely be an invincible martial arts master. Su Ziqiang listened to his words. At first, she really thought it was true, but the more she listened, the less reliable it seemed. "TSK, do you think this is a martial arts novel?" Su Ziqiang simply ignored him, and Zhang Chen didn't say much either. He would never tell anyone his secret. His mind was extremely clear now, and it was impossible for him to do such dangerous things. Su Ziqiang ignored him for the whole morning. Soon it was time to go home from school at noon. Zhang Chen walked straight to the school gate. Sun Nan and the others followed closely behind him, as if they were afraid that Zhang Chen would run away. When we arrived at the school gate, Bai Jianfei and his friends had not arrived yet, but Sun Nan and his friends seemed eager to try. Zhang Chen looked at them and sneered. Even if all of them attacked him together, they would not be his match. Damn it, why is Bai Jianfei so slow? Doesn't he know I'm very busy? Zhang Chen cursed angrily. Although their voice was low, Sun Nan and the others heard it clearly. Kid, just go ahead and be crazy. See how Brother Fei will beat you to death. That's right, don't cry later. Idiots. Zhang Chen was so angry when he saw them. Each of them was like Bai Jianfei's lapdog. Suddenly, there was a commotion at the school gate. It was the peak time for students to leave the school. Many girls screamed and boys hurriedly made way. The next moment, the four heavenly kings, led by Mushroom Head, walked out, and finally Bai Jianfei walked out slowly. Regardless of how powerful these four Vajras are, their size is enough to intimidate people. When a few people saw Zhang Chen, they walked over here. Hehe, grandson, you are quite brave. You really dare to come here, said the mushroom-headed guy in a strange voice. He had suffered a loss at the hands of Zhang Chen, and he wished that Bai Jianfei would beat Zhang Chen up. Defeated general, your master hasn't spoken yet, why are you yelling here? I didn't satisfy you last time, did I? Do you want to come a few more times? Zhang Chen said with a wicked smile as he looked at the mushroom head's belly. The mushroom head's eyes turned bloodshot on the spot, and he rolled up his sleeves and rushed forward. When had the four of them ever suffered such a loss in school? Before he could rush forward, a hand grabbed his arm. Old Mar, don't be impulsive. Bai Jianfei said as he stood in front of the mushroom-headed man. Boy, you're pretty awesome. I heard that mushroom head suffered a loss at your hands that day. Bai Jianfei asked with narrowed eyes. Hehe, I'm not as awesome as you, Brother Fei. Why? Is it so easy to take my money? Do you really think I'm an ATM? Bai Jianfei nodded after hearing this. Then there's nothing else to say. Don't say I'm bullying you. Let's fight one-on-one. Do you dare? After saying that, Bai Jianfei clasped his hands together. He was wearing a white shirt, jeans, and Nike sneakers today. The gold watch on his wrist sparkled in the sun. Combined with his handsome face and slightly feminine temperament, he was simply a killer for young girls. Wow, this guy is so handsome. Many girls nearby stopped to watch, some of them saw stars in their eyes when they looked at Bai Jianfei. They didn't know when it started, but students always liked boys who were bad and a bit ruffian, and Bai Jianfei was undoubtedly their dream lover. Zhang Chen looked around and said, "This idiot has stolen my limelight." Zhang Chen was very unhappy. He was not as tall as Bai Jianfei, nor as handsome as him. What made him most infuriating was that as a rich second generation, he dressed worse than him. What Bai Jianfei didn't know was that his showy behavior deeply hurt the heart of a rich second generation, and the consequences might be serious. "Come on over here." Zhang Chen struck a pose that he thought was very handsome and waved at Bai Jianfei. But the little girls around don't buy it. "TSK, who is this? This posture is so stupid. Dare to challenge Brother Fei, he is tired of living. Come on, Brother Fei, beat him up." The girls around started to cheer and support Bai Jianfei. Bai Jianfei still walked towards Zhang Chen calmly. The four heavenly kings and Sun Nan raised their heads proudly when they heard the cheers around them. This is what it feels like to be in the crowd. Zhang Chen, think carefully. If you spend some money, I can spare you. But if you choose to fight me, not only will you get beaten, but you will also have to give us the money. You will lose both the wife and the army. Do you really want to choose this? Hearing the words, accompanied my wife, Zhang Chen became even more angry and couldn't help but think of Fang Xiaya. "Hey, it turns out that your reputation as Brother Fei is just a boast. I thought you were a big shot. What's the difference between you and an old woman?" Zhang Chen said sarcastically. Bai Jianfei's face finally changed. He took 2 steps and jumped in front of Zhang Chen, and punched Zhang Chen in the face. Zhang Chen's heart was startled. Before his fist arrived, he could feel a gust of wind coming out. It seemed that Bai Jianfei was indeed quite capable. But Zhang Chen is no longer the same as before. His reaction ability is far beyond that of ordinary people. He turned his head to the side without changing his expression and barely dodged the punch. Bai Jianfei had a look of slight surprise on his face, and then he used his fists and feet together, with a very rhythmic alternation of tension and relaxation. Zhang Chen looked a little embarrassed at this time. Bai Jianfei was indeed a martial artist. He had just learned the 5 emperors fisting for a few days and now had no time to use it. If his master had not cleansed his essence and marrow, he would have been beaten down by Bai Jianfei even with the 5 emperors fisting. He felt a little regretful. Why did he talk so much nonsense just now? He should have used his invincible boxing to gain the upper hand. Maybe he could have defeated Bai Jianfei now. Look, that kid almost fell to the ground. Need I say more? Brother Fei is teasing him on purpose, otherwise he would have been defeated with just 1 move. Brother Fei is awesome. There was a lot of discussion around, but the 4 heavenly kings and Sun Nan all looked serious. They knew about Fei Ji's move, and they had a bad feeling that they had not been able to do anything to Zhang Chen for such a long time. It seemed that Zhang Chen could barely cope with every move, but he had not reached his limit yet. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. Bai Jianfei used his old punch, and the gap in the rebound gave him a chance. The first change of the 5 emperors' fist. Zhang Chen shouted in his heart, and punched out at an incredible angle and at an extremely fast speed. Bai Jianfei was startled and quickly punched back to block. Bang! The 2 fists collided, and Bai Jianfei almost screamed out. It hurt like hitting a stone when his fist collided with Zhang Chen's. Zhang Chen was delighted. Second transformation. Rub. Bai Jianfei barely blocked Zhang Chen's kick, but he took several steps back. Before he could come to his senses, Zhang Chen's fist and kick seemed to arrive at the same time. His first feeling was speed, so fast that it was unbelievable. His second feeling was pain, because the fist had hit his stomach and the leg had kicked his waist. R. With a scream, Bai Jianfei was kicked more than 2 meters away and fell at the feet of the Fravajras. Silence. The crowd around was completely silent. The little girls who were chattering before now blushed, but couldn't say a word. Chapter 26 Makeup Lessons. Bai Jianfei fell to the ground wailing miserably, looking even more miserable than the mushroom head before. The 4 heavenly kings finally reacted and hurriedly helped Bai Jianfei up. Zhang Chen walked up slowly, and the people around him subconsciously moved away from him. The little girls no longer dared to shout or scream. By Zhanfei, remember, don't bother me again from now on. Also, stay away from Fang Xiaya, or I will beat you up every time I see you. Arrogant, absolutely arrogant. Although Bai Zhanfei is not among the 3 kings in Minghua High School, he is also a top figure. He was humiliated like this, and said such cruel words, and was beaten every time he saw him. Even the 3 kings would not dare to say this to him. After all, the Bai family still has some weight in this city. But no matter what, Zhang Chen will definitely become famous in one battle. Zhang Chen, you're looking for death. Brothers, he beat Brother Fei like this, we have to keep him here no matter what, said the mushroom-headed man gritting his teeth, and the others behind him nodded and slowly stood up. Zhang Chen's eyes turned cold and he rushed over quickly. He couldn't make the same mistake as before. It was better to strike first. If he was surrounded by so many people, the result would be hard to predict. Bang! Before the 4 Vajras made a move, Zhang Chen's fists and feet came over. The next moment, everyone saw 4 more people around Bai Zhanfei, holding their stomachs and screaming. Zhang Chen was secretly proud of himself. The 5 Emperor's fist had fast moves and tricky angles, and these few people could not defend against it at all. Sun Nan and a few others originally wanted to join in the fight, but after seeing this scene, they no longer had the courage to come forward and slowly retreated towards the crowd. Zhang Chen ignored him and squatted down to look at Bai Zhanfei. What's the matter? Return all the money you took from me. After saying that, he went to take Bai Zhanfei's wallet. At this time, Bai Zhanfei had already recovered his breath, but what surprised him was that he still didn't have the strength to stand up. Seeing Zhang Chen taking out his wallet, and the looks from the people around him, he was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Zhang Chen, don't be so proud. Unless you kill me today, you'll have no chance of success. Bai Zhanfei said with bloodshot eyes. Hey, you're worthy of being Brother Fei. You're still so domineering even after being beaten like a dog. Zhang Chen went up and slapped him in the face. He showed no mercy. If he had lost, he would have suffered the same fate. Zhang Chen, stop it. A delicate cry was heard, with a hint of anger in it. Soon Fang Xiaya walked out of the crowd. She was wearing a white dress today, looking youthful and lovely, but her face was covered with a layer of frost. She looked at Zhang Chen with eyes as if Zhang Chen had just forced himself on her. Fang Xiaya. Zhang Chen shouted in surprise. HMPH, I didn't realize you were so powerful. If he hadn't been there that day, I would have fallen victim to your brutal attacks. Fang Xiaya said angrily. Zhang Chen stared at her with wide eyes. It was just a prank, but he didn't expect it to leave such a big shadow on her. If you insult him again, I will call the police. Thugs like you should be punished. Fang Xiaya said sternly. Hearing this, Zhang Chen felt an inexplicable pain in his heart. He slowly stood up. The people around him heard Fang Xiaya's words and probably heard some clues. They pointed at Zhang Chen. Xiaoya, Bai Zhanfei is not a good guy. You will know if you go and ask around in senior high school. Zhang Chen said lightly. No matter how bad I am still 1,000 times better than a gangster like you. Fang Xiaya helped Bai Zhanfei up and wiped the dust off his face. Zhang Chen sighed, turned and walked towards the school gate. He knew that if he angered Fang Xiaya again, she might really call the police. When the crowd saw Zhang Chen coming, they automatically made way for him. He had seemingly won the battle, but due to the appearance of Fang Xiaya he did not feel any joy at all. When he returned to the classroom he saw Su Ziqiang already sitting in her seat reading a book. I didn't realize you're so powerful. Su Ziqiang said with a wry smile when she saw Zhang Chen coming over. Zhang Chen glanced at him. In the past, he would have teased him, but because of Fang Xiaya's attitude, he was not in the mood at all. Su Ziqiang wanted to talk to him several times, but seeing that his face was not good, she had to give up. Zhang Chen was in a depressed mood the whole afternoon, trying to find a way to change his image in Fang Xiaya's mind, but he had no idea. He spent several classes holding an English book but didn't concentrate at all. When school was almost over in the afternoon, the text message tone on my cell phone rang, and when I opened it, it turned out to be from my English teacher Fang Qing. The message was very concise: come to my dormitory after school. Thinking back to teacher Fang's seductive figure, it really makes people yearn for it. Just this one text message pulled Zhang Chen out of his depressed mood. It shows how much potential Zhang Chen has to be a pervert. Why are you smiling so slyly? Are you lucky in love? Suzuchung said from the side. Hehe, what's wrong? Are you jealous? Zhang Chen said with a proud smile. TSK. I don't care. Suzuchung said with a pout, obviously unhappy. Zhang Chen ignored her, packed up his books and walked out of the classroom. After all, he was going to the teacher's class for extra lessons, and he was still very concerned about the English reading competition. Suzuchung became even angrier when she saw Zhang Chen's attitude. She stared blankly at the door for a long time, then suddenly laughed softly. She thought to herself how she had become a little girl after having seen so many deaths and separations. At this time, there was no one in the classroom, so she gently said to him, Hehe, Zhang Chen has gone out, keep an eye on him. Suzuchung let out a breath and walked out of the classroom. When she reached the school gate, a taxi happened to stop in front of her. She got in and drove away. Zhang Chen trotted all the way to the downstairs of the teacher's dormitory, walked to the door of teacher Fang Qing's single dormitory with ease, calmed himself down, and then knocked on the wooden door. After a while, teacher Fang Qing opened the door and the aroma of food wafted out. Zhang Chen swallowed his saliva. He had to say that teacher Fang Qing's cooking skills were very good and had already captured his stomach firmly. Okay, you're really good at keeping up with the times. Come in and wait for dinner. Teacher Fang Qing, wearing a cute apron, greeted him. He secretly cursed that teacher Fang Qing was such a witch. It was clearly her who sent a text message to ask him to come, but now it seemed as if she had come to him on her own. However, he quickly slipped in and sat directly on the sofa. Fang Qing ignored him and quickly brought out 2 dishes from the kitchen. They were still very ordinary home-cooked meals. Teacher Fang Qing did not wear branded clothes and used very simple cosmetics. She looked like a very ordinary person. Zhang Chen picked up the bowl and started fighting. After finishing several bowls of rice, he looked up and saw teacher Fang Qing looking at him in surprise. Zhang Chen, you are not the reincarnation of a starving ghost. Har har, it's because your cooking skills are so good, teacher. Zhang Chen was also a little embarrassed, but he really liked Fang Qing's expression. When he was with her, he didn't feel like a teacher at all. It was as easy as being with a friend. Don't come here to eat next time. With the way you eat, I think I will go bankrupt soon. Fang Qing said unhappily. Zhang Chen couldn't help but laugh. That's fine, I can just support you. After saying that, Zhang Chen continued to eat, but after taking a few bites he realized something was wrong. He looked up and found Fang Qing looking at him coldly, without any of the friendliness she had before. Zhang Chen's heart sank, and he realized that he had said the wrong thing. Zhang Chen, I know your family is rich, but don't always say such things to others, even if it's a joke, okay? Teacher Fang, I was just joking. It's not what you think. Zhang Chen quickly explained. Seeing Zhang Chen's helpless look, Fang Qing's expression eased a little. But the meal made her feel more depressed. After the meal, Fang Qing sat on the sofa and started to tutor Zhang Chen in English. She had completely recovered at this time, but Zhang Chen was still trembling with fear and did not dare to speak carelessly. Fang Qing first talked about some pronunciation techniques. Although she has not been teaching for long, she has her own unique teaching method. In addition, Zhang Chen's memory has greatly improved after practicing the 5 Emperor's secret art. Basically, he can digest everything teacher Fang Qing said immediately. The tutoring lasted for about an hour. Fang Qing became more and more passionate as she spoke. Zhang Chen listened carefully at first, but when he found that he could remember most of what she said just by listening casually, his eyes started to become restless, and he kept wandering back and forth over Fang Qing's body intentionally or unintentionally. Suddenly, Fang Qing's face turned pale and her expression changed instantly. Zhang Chen was startled and quickly looked away, lowered his head and looked as if he was admitting his guilt. But after a few seconds, Fang Qing still didn't speak. He raised his head and saw Fang Qing leaning on the sofa with a painful expression on her face. Teacher Fang, what's wrong with you? Zhang Chen hurried over and without thinking, he pulled Fang Qing into his arms from the sofa. She seemed to have no strength to resist, and said weakly, let's stop here for today's tutoring. Zhang Chen, you go first. But when Zhang Chen saw her like this, how could he leave? A light bulb went off in his head. Could it be that teacher Fang Qing had some disease? Thinking of this, he picked up Fang Qing's arm. His technique of taking the pulse was not yet proficient, and various pulse conditions kept flashing through his mind. Huh? It's this kind of symptom. A strange expression appeared on Zhang Chen's face. According to the records in the Five Emperors medical book, Fang Qing just had dysmenorrhea, but the pain was extremely severe. In medicine, it was called barren woman syndrome. It would only be relieved after marriage, but every time the pain came it was almost like a life-threatening pain. It seems that there is no way to cure it, only temporary relief. He murmured helplessly and took out a set of small silver needles from his pocket. He has carried these things with him ever since he came into contact with medicine. Regardless of Fang Qing's objection, he took off her shirt. However, Zhang Chen had no other thoughts at this time. He had to concentrate on the acupuncture. After carefully recalling the order of acupuncture, he inserted the silver needle into Fang Qing's acupoints. If an old Chinese doctor was present, he would definitely be shocked. The silver needles flew up and down in Zhang Chen's hands like magic. After a while, several important acupoints were covered with silver needles. Chapter 27 Attack. As Zhang Chen continued to treat her, Fang Qing's complexion gradually regained color and her breathing became steady, but Zhang Chen still did not stop his movements, as the acupuncture had to be done in one go. Fang Qing had opened her eyes and was looking at Zhang Chen closely, feeling the unusual warmth in his arms. She knew that it was not right to stay in her student's arms like this, but now she really didn't have the strength to leave. Well, this could barely be considered a reason. Zhang Chen exhaled a breath, and the formation was finally completed. He performed the formation according to the Five Emperors' secret technique. Although he did not use any mystical power, beads of sweat appeared on his forehead after all this effort. "Teacher Fang, do you feel better?" Zhang Chen asked softly. Fang Qing was now lying in his arms. This posture was really indecent. "Yeah," Fang Qing responded, then got up and returned to the sofa, but she felt a little regretful in her heart, as if Zhang Chen's arms had magic that made her unwilling to leave. "Have you studied medicine?" Fang Qing asked curiously. She had visited many big hospitals for this disease, as well as those so-called folk Chinese medicine practitioners, but no one could relieve her condition. Zhang Chen nodded. "I've learned a little bit. Your disease can only be relieved temporarily. If you want to cure it, you still need to work hard on your own," Zhang Chen said hesitantly. After hearing what Zhang Chen said, Fang Qing's face became even redder. Of course she knew what was wrong with her, but she couldn't just marry anyone. Zhang Chen wrote another prescription for Fang Qing. It was already past 9 o'clock. Seeing that Fang Qing was fine, Zhang Chen walked out of her dormitory. Seeing Zhang Chen's back as he left, Fang Qing was a little distracted. This was the first time she was hugged by a boy. Although he was her student, she still felt strange. She was already 25 years old this year, but she was not much better than Zhang Chen in terms of emotions. Thinking of her only emotional experience, her heart couldn't help but ache. It was late autumn and the weather was already a little chilly. Zhang Chen was walking on the road. Since he started practicing the Five Emperors' secret art, his temperament had changed a lot, especially when he was practicing medicine. He had become more steadier than his age, but he also had more responsibilities. With a sigh, no matter what, Zhang Chen's path was destined to be changed by the Five Emperors' secret techniques. This time period was past the students' evening study time, and the bus had long passed its scheduled time, so he came under the street light and prepared to take a taxi home. Suddenly, a creepy feeling came over him. The feeling was so strong that it made him quickly dodge to the side. With his current physical fitness and reaction speed, he could perform these actions in just a moment. The next moment, a black shadow fell from the sky. With a loud bang, the street lamp he was leaning against was broken in half. The sound of a short-circuited wire was heard, and several street lamps around him dimmed. Zhang Chen was shocked and turned around and ran when the street light broke, but the man in black behind him was obviously faster. Before he could run a few steps, the whistling wind sounded again. Oh no! Zhang Chen was anxious, but his strength was limited. This man was obviously a master and he was no match for him. At this critical moment, another sound of breaking air was heard, a flash of light, and a sharp sound of sharp weapons colliding. Zhang Chen turned around suddenly and found that a man in black appeared from somewhere, holding a gear in his hand, which emitted a silvery white light under the moonlight. He had his back to Zhang Chen. It was obvious that this man came to save Zhang Chen. The two men in black confronted each other for a few seconds and then fought again. Zhang Chen was dazzled by the sight. In the air, there were only sparks produced by the collision of sharp weapons. The two men in black appeared and disappeared in the air like ghosts. Hurry up and leave. A low voice came from the air, and Zhang Chen suddenly woke up. Now is not the time to watch the fun. He ran as fast as he could. The fight between the men in black behind him became more intense. Before he had taken a few steps, he felt a black screen in front of his eyes and suddenly lost consciousness. It was unknown how long it had passed before Zhang Chen opened his eyes. The back of his head was still in unbearable pain, and everything he saw was pitch black. There was a sound of dripping water in the distance, and the air was filled with a damp and moldy smell. Where is this place? He looked around, but it was too dark to see anything. He moved a little and found that his hands and feet were handcuffed with chains. If it were before, he would have screamed desperately, but now his mind was unusually clear and he knew that any screaming would be useless. The only thing he had to do was to wait. Sure enough, not long after, there was a rumbling sound of machinery, and a dim light came on. Then Zhang Chen saw an elevator made of a large iron cage slowly descending to the ground from above. A tall figure walked in. Only when I got closer did I see the hideous scars on his face. The scars were so severe that his skull was exposed. I really don't know how this man survived. Here is your meal and this pill, eat it, the man said in a hoarse voice, and then placed a box of food and a black pill in front of Zhang Chen. I want to know where this is and what you want to do with me. Zhang Chen asked in a panic. You don't need to know these. The scarred man showed a ferocious smile, then grabbed Zhang Chen's chin with great force. Zhang Chen had no chance to resist. Take this medicine obediently. After saying that, he pinched Zhang Chen's chin. Zhang Chen subconsciously opened his mouth, and then a pill went into his mouth. After doing all this, the scarred man went straight back into the iron cage. Accompanied by the rumbling sound of machinery, the scarred man took the elevator and left. The lights dimmed and the place became pitch black again. The pill had melted in Zhang Chen's mouth. He knew that this was definitely not a good medicine. He forced himself to spit it out several times but nothing came out. However, he was able to identify several medicinal herbs by smell. Suddenly, his face changed. This pill was most likely poison. However, he did not panic. The medical part of the Five Emperors' secret techniques covered a wide range of subjects, and it was only a matter of time to detoxify the poison. He picked up his lunchbox and ate while analyzing how he was attacked, but no matter how clear his mind was, he was still confused. In a room, Shouhou and Hehe were lowering their heads. In front of them, a middle-aged man and an old man were sitting on worn stools, looking very anxious. What's wrong with you two? Little yellow bird, why did you leave so temporarily? Black tiger, why didn't you inform the headquarters immediately when you encountered danger? The middle-aged man asked, slamming the table. I went to Dr. Liang this afternoon, so. Shouhou said frustratedly. I thought I could handle that opponent, Hehe argued. Okay, don't embarrass them, said the old man on the side. We didn't receive any news about the invasion of the Dark Knight organization this time, and it was also the fault of our entire Songyuan Special Service Bureau. Chief, do you mean that it was the Dark Knight organization that did this? The middle-aged man asked in surprise. The old man nodded. Yes, we have compared the DNA of those killers and proved that it was the work of the Dark Knight organization. As for the reason, it is probably because of Dr. Zhang's genetic potion. After hearing this, the middle-aged man slammed his fist on the table. Now Dr. Zhang's genetic potion has entered a critical period, and Zhang Chen has been captured by the Dark Knight organization. He is most likely in danger. I hope Dr. Zhang can put the overall situation first, the old man sighed. After hearing the old man's words, everyone in the room became emotional. Being locked in the dim room, Zhang Chen had no concept of time. He could only practice the Five Emperors' secret arts desperately every day, especially the Five Emperors' medical skills, otherwise the poison would make him unable to sleep or eat. At a fixed time every day, the scarred man would come to bring him food, but the scarred man had become completely mute and didn't say a single word. The rumbling mechanical sound sounded again, and Zhang Chen's eyes lit up. He knew that the scarred man had come to bring him food again. Anyway, the boxed lunches here were still acceptable. Sure enough, the lights came on and the scarred man appeared again, but this time he did not rush to leave. Instead, he stood aside. Zhang Chen was not polite either. Researching the 5 Emperor's secret techniques every day required a lot of energy. He was already very hungry and finished the lunchbox in no time. The young master wants to see you. After Zhang Chen finished eating, the scarred man's hoarse voice sounded. Zhang Chen's heart moved. Is it finally here? The scarred man picked up Zhang Chen directly and put him into the cage. This scarred man was like a gorilla with incredible strength. The elevator slowly rose, and Zhang Chen realized that he was actually locked up underground. This seemed to be a very large underground facility. What kind of organization had such great power? Soon, Zhang Chen was brought to a brightly lit hall. People in white coats were busy all around him, and Zhang Chen's arrival did not attract any attention. Seeing all this, Zhang Chen felt a little guilty. Could he have been caught to be a guinea pig? It turned out that he was not imagining things. The scarred man threw him directly onto an operating table, and then 4 people in white coats came over and pressed him on the operating table. Of course he resisted violently, but the arms of each of these people in white coats were extremely strong, completely unlike those of ordinary doctors. Zhang Chen was already somewhat desperate. He was still a virgin. Could it be that he was cut into pieces and used as a specimen? If he had known this would happen, he should have executed Fang Qing on the spot. The next moment, a doctor took a big needle and inserted it into his arm. Zhang Chen was now unable to move at all. Having these people holding him down was much more secure than tying him up. Gene extraction completed. After a few minutes, an electronic sound rang out, and several people let go of Zhang Chen. The scarred man came over, picked up Zhang Chen and walked out of the laboratory. Only then did he come to his senses. It turned out that they were just extracting genes. He was almost scared to death. Chapter 28 Jewel Soul Technique. Coming out of the laboratory, he entered a dreamlike room. The reason why it was called a dream was because the room was decorated with great taste, which made Zhang Chen exclaim that it was an eye-opener. The scarred man did not enter the room, but stayed at the door. Zhang Chen walked in without hesitation. He had already entered the wolf's den, so there was no point in being afraid. As soon as he entered the door, a strange fragrance entered his nose, making him feel very comfortable. He was not worried that it was poison. He was even poisoned by the GU, so what was there to worry about? Besides, he knew from his medical skills that the fragrance was not poisonous. In the middle of the hall was a set of sofas. The material of the sofas was very soft, but as soon as he touched it, he pulled his hand back as if he had been electrocuted. Is this human skin? Zhang Chen took several steps back. Who is the owner of this room? From the time you entered the door until now, you have died at least 18 times. A neutral voice sounded, but no one was seen. Zhang Chen calmed down and did not answer. The most basic quality of a killer is to be cautious. You are not suitable to be a killer, the other party continued. Zhang Chen sneered, I'm sorry, I never thought of becoming a killer. The other party seemed to laugh as well, but you have no choice. Zhang Chen didn't know what the other party's purpose was, and the other party didn't seem to want to have a deep conversation with him. For a moment, the two of them were deadlocked here. After a few minutes, their voice sounded again, go. Zhang Chen was stunned, is this the end? The other party laughed again, what else do you think? Not only can you leave here, but I will have someone send you back to the ground so you can continue your previous life, the other party continued. What? Zhang Chen was really shocked this time. He didn't believe that he would be let go so easily. Of course, you are already one of us, and your mission is to obtain your father's genetic potion. It is indeed the genetic potion. Zhang Chen understood and asked, what if I don't do this? Har har. A crisp laugh sounded, and the other party seemed to be laughing very happily. Of course we have a way to control you. Just relying on that poison. Zhang Chen asked. The reason why he asked this was because he didn't believe that the other party would control him with the help of a poison. Of course not. I don't know if you have heard of the Jewel Soul technique. If you haven't heard of it, you can go ask those guys in the Secret Service, said the neutral voice. Okay, I'm very busy. I look forward to seeing you next time. Zhang Chen felt a little heavy-hearted. Although he had never heard of the Jewel Soul technique, since the other party was so confident, it must be a very powerful method of control. After coming out, the scarred man still didn't ask any more questions and walked to his side, but but he just felt a black screen in front of his eyes and fell unconscious again. When he woke up, he found himself lying on his own bed. He was confused. Was this all a dream? He quickly pressed his armpits with his fingers, and a piercing pain came from his chest. It's true. The poison is still there, but what's going on with the Jewel Soul technique? While he was still wondering, there was a knock on the door and Song Wanhua walked in with a bowl of chicken soup. Child, you didn't even tell me that you had such a serious cold. If it wasn't for Zicheng, I wouldn't have known about it, said the mother in a reproachful manner. Zhang Chen watched all this in a daze. He didn't expect it to be so easy to get out. And his mother seemed to have no idea that she was kidnapped, otherwise she wouldn't be so calm. Although he was also worried about the poison and the Jewel Soul technique in his body, he also knew that as long as they didn't get his father's genetic potion, they would not be able to take his life. After drinking the soup made by his mother, he saw his mother's haggard face and felt guilty. It seemed that his mother had changed a lot recently and was no longer so confident. He suddenly shook his head. His mother was a strong woman. No matter how difficult the task was, she could easily handle it. After my mother left, I looked at the time and it was already noon. Why didn't my mother go to work today? Before he could figure out the result, the sound of footsteps coming up the stairs reached his ears. He was very familiar with the footsteps. It was Su Zicheng. Why didn't she go to school today? He checked the date on his phone. It was Thursday, not a day off. What surprised him even more was that he had disappeared on Tuesday, so 2 days had passed. I wonder if that old witch, the head teacher, will eat him. Boom boom. There was a slight knock on the door and a smile appeared on Zhang Chen's lips. This girl had learned her lesson and stopped peeping. It can be said that Zhang Chen is a born optimist. As long as he is sure that there is no danger in the short term, his mood will improve. When he opened the door, Su Zicheng's pale face and bloodshot eyes came into his sight. Zhang Chen, do you feel better? Su Zicheng asked. Who sent me back? Zhang Chen did not answer her question, but asked straight to the point. Su Zicheng bit her lip with her teeth, hesitated for a moment and said, We were the ones who sent you back. I'm sorry, I didn't take good care of your safety. It was my mistake. I'm not your cousin, but a bodyguard sent by the government to take care of your safety. After saying that, Su Zicheng looked at Zhang Chen somewhat nervously. For some reason, she felt a little worried. But Zhang Chen's expression did not change from beginning to end. Aren't you shocked at all? Su Zicheng asked in surprise. Of course I'm shocked. Zhang Chen suddenly laughed. I'm shocked that the government actually sent a little girl like you and that gorilla with a negative IQ to protect me. Do they think I've lived too long? Hearing this, Su Zicheng felt a little aggrieved for some reason. Black Tiger's IQ was indeed low, but she was a top agent. If she hadn't had some health problems, she would have gone abroad to carry out top missions long ago. Zhang Chen, I admit that it was my mistake this time, but you can't insult me. Su Zicheng said. I insulted you? When did I insult you? Isn't all this your fault? Do you know how much harm you have caused me? Zhang Chen suddenly became agitated. His eyes gradually turned ink black. He felt that he had lost control of himself and his body moved towards Su Zicheng little by little. After Zhang Chen came back, they gave him a detailed examination. They all knew about Zhang Chen's poison and Jewel Soul technique. Su Zicheng certainly knew what this meant for Zhang Chen. If Zhang Chen could not get rid of the Jewel Soul technique, they would have no choice but to imprison Zhang Chen for life. Su Zicheng looked up suddenly. She had already noticed something strange about Zhang Chen, but she was a trained agent after all. Zhang Chen, what's wrong with you? Su Zicheng was already prepared for defense while shouting. But Zhang Chen still did not stop. The black texture gradually climbed up his face. At this moment, his heart was extremely agitated and his body had already lost control. No matter how anxious he was, it was useless. Zhang Chen, I will not be polite if you continue like this. Su Zicheng's eyes suddenly became sharp, as if she would attack if Zhang Chen took another step forward. A strange smile appeared on Zhang Chen's face, and the next moment his body floated towards Su Zicheng like a shadow, and in an instant Zhang Chen's hand was in front of Su Zicheng. Su Zicheng was shocked. Zhang Chen was very fast, but she was also an excellent agent with an extremely quick reaction speed, and her own realm was much higher than Zhang Chen. With a loud shout, Su Ziqiang did not retreat but advanced, dodged Zhang Chen's attack with a flash of her body, and her speed was even faster than Zhang Chen. While dodging, she also attacked several of Zhang Chen's vital points. Su Ziqiang seemed to be able to split herself into two, and the attacks on several vital points were completed almost simultaneously, which showed how fast she was. Before Zhang Chen could react, he was knocked to the ground. He had just entered the body tempering stage. He was okay fighting those little hooligans, but he was far inferior to agents like Su Ziqiang. Zhang Chen fell to the ground with a cry. Su Ziqiang's attack position was very clever, and he was completely unable to move at this moment. Su Ziqiang came over and looked at Zhang Chen with complicated eyes. She knew that Zhang Chen was completely abnormal at this moment, and it was most likely the effect of his soul. Somehow, the scene of Zhang Chen making breakfast for him suddenly appeared in her mind, and a pain came over her heart. I know you won't kill me. You can't help but feel guilty towards me, and you have some special feelings for me. Although Zhang Chen could not move, his speech was not affected at all. Su Ziqiang was suddenly a little panicked after hearing this, but she didn't show it on her face, and her expression was still cold. What feelings do I have for you? You are just my protection, and you are just my mission. Really? How can I feel the panic in your heart? Ziqiang, I like you. I fell in love with you at the first sight. Zhang Chen suddenly said affectionately. Su Ziqiang's face turned red, and she could no longer remain calm. You are still young, don't let your imagination run wild. She quickly turned her head away, afraid that Zhang Chen would see her expression. At the same time, her heart was beating like a deer. Is this what it feels like to be in love? She didn't know whether to be happy or sad. Can you let me go and be my girlfriend? Zhang Chen said with emotion. Su Ziqiang bit her lips tightly. Zhang Chen, I know it's your dual soul technique that's acting up, I'm sorry. After she finished speaking, she suddenly raised her right hand and chopped Zhang Chen's neck with a knife. Before Zhang Chen could finish speaking, he fell unconscious. Su Ziqiang picked up Zhang Chen's body with one hand and jumped out of the window. She didn't know how long this soul regenerating technique would last, but she was told that if Zhang Chen's dual soul technique broke out, he must be sent back to headquarters immediately. As Su Ziqiang jumped out, several figures around her floated out like ghosts, but did not attract any attention in this already quiet and deserted villa area. Not long after Su Ziqiang left, Zhang Chen's door was opened and Song Wanhua walked in. Seeing that there was no one on the bed, she frowned. This child, you ran out just after you recovered from your illness, and you even went out through the window. Can I still stop you from going out? Am I really such a failure as a mother? Song Wanhua sighed, turned and left. Chapter 29. Jing Shuang's father falls ill. Su Ziqiang brought Zhang Chen to the Songyuan Special Agent Headquarters, which was located underground. At this time, Zhang Chen was lying on a specially made hospital bed with his hands and feet clasped at the four corners of the bed. When a man wearing glasses and isolation suit walked out of the ward, Su Ziqiang, Hehe and others surrounded him anxiously. Dr. Li, how is Zhang Chen? Su Ziqiang asked anxiously. Dr. Li shook his head. I have temporarily suppressed the poison in his body, and temporarily transplanted some pseudo-genes into his genes to temporarily control the dual soul technique. However, this dual soul technique is the ultimate means for the Dark Knight organization to control the killers, and it is not so easy to crack. Does this mean that he may be controlled by the dual soul technique at any time? Su Ziqiang asked. Dr. Li nodded. It's also a matter of time. But it should be fine in the next few months. Once that pseudo-gene is devoured by the dual soul technique, I won't be able to suppress the dual soul technique. Then I can only imprison him for life. Hearing the words, life imprisonment, Su Ziqiang's body trembled noticeably. She turned to look at Zhang Chen in the ward and clenched her fists. The other people were not so concerned about Zhang Chen, but were a little surprised by Su Ziqiang's expression. When Zhang Chen woke up again, he found himself still in his room. It was midnight, the starlight fell on his bed, and the surroundings were very quiet. He had some impression of the onset of the dual soul technique and was very afraid of the feeling of not being able to control his own body. He stretched out his hands and took a look, then he made up his mind to break this damn dual soul technique. With the help of starlight, he began to practice. If it didn't work, he would go to Zhongnan Mountain to find his master in advance. Otherwise, he was afraid that the dual soul technique would occur and cause harm to his relatives. Su Ziqiang was okay, she was better than him, but what if the next time he met her was his mother? He couldn't imagine it. He first practiced the 5 Emperors mind concentration technique, and then something surprised him. He didn't expect that the mind concentration technique actually broke through to the second level. How was this possible? He had been stuck at the first level for a long time, and had hoped to get Jing Shuang's help to break through, but he didn't expect to break through himself. Could it be that he could practice it even in his dreams? No, could it be that the dual soul technique took effect and I broke through to the second level? He seemed to have found the answer, as if he had thought of something. He got out of bed and started practicing the 5 Emperor's fist, trying to perform the third change. Sure enough, the moves that were difficult to do before were now easily performed. Call. He exhaled a breath of foul air. Unexpectedly, the onset of the dual soul technique brought benefits to his cultivation. His mind concentration technique entered the second level, his 5 Emperor's fist technique reached the third transformation, and he entered the second level of the body tempering stage. What on earth was this dual soul technique and how could it have such an effect? He couldn't help but smile bitterly. He was both looking forward to the dual soul technique's occurrence and hoping to get rid of it as soon as possible. How great it would be if I could control this dual soul technique. He sighed in his heart, but he also knew that this was impossible. This time he practiced the concentration technique until dawn. When he opened his eyes, he felt energetic and it seemed to be more effective than sleeping, but it was not as comfortable as sleeping. When he went downstairs, he found his mother making breakfast in the kitchen. When she saw Zhang Chen coming down, she quickly brought out porridge and pickles. I know you don't like drinking milk, so I specially prepared porridge for you. Song Ranhua said with a smile, by the way, if you go out next time, just go through the front door, don't jump out the window, it's too dangerous. Zhang Chen looked at his mother, it seemed that something had changed about her. Mom, why didn't you go to the company today? Zhang Chen asked. Song Ranhua was silent for a moment and said, I'm a little tired. I'll rest at home for a few days. Zhang Chen was a little confused. His mother had always been concerned about her career. Could it be that something went wrong with the company? However, he knew that he would not be able to find out by asking. He decided to go and see it himself when he had time. He was not a child anymore. His father never cared about family affairs. He had to take responsibility for some things. He felt very warm eating the porridge made by his mother. After eating, he still took the bus to school. His mother said that Su Ziqiang had already gone to school. He was not sure whether his mother knew Su Ziqiang's identity. When I arrived at school, I saw Su Ziqiang sitting in her seat. When she saw Zhang Chen come in, she just raised her head. Sun Nan and the others looked at Zhang Chen evasively. Zhang Chen's defeat of Bai Zhanfei made them fear him and they dared not provoke him again. Suddenly, he felt a resentful gaze. He was very sensitive now, and when he turned around, he saw Fang Xie staring at Zhang Chen as if he was the murderer of her father. Zhang Chen sighed. He had no way to explain to her now. He hoped that she could see Bai Zhanfei's true face as soon as possible. Brother Chen, you are so fierce that you actually defeated Bai Zhanfei. Huzi came over and said. Zhang Chen smiled. If it were in the past he would have to show off a lot, but the experiences of the past few days told him that fighting with Bai Zhanfei was just playing house and there was nothing to brag about. But you haven't been here for so many days, and the old witch head teacher misses you very much. Huzi said maliciously. Zhang Chen then remembered that he had actually forgotten about this. Turning his head to look at Su Ziqiang, she still ignored him. Zhang Chen felt a little embarrassed. He still clearly remembered what he said to her on the day when his dual soul technique took effect. He wanted to do something to her at that time. If she wasn't stronger than him, he would have succeeded. While he was thinking, the door of the classroom opened and the head teacher walked in. Zhang Chen hurriedly lowered his head, but still could not escape the head teacher's eyes. The old witch knocked on Zhang Chen's desk a few times, and then followed him out in the gloating eyes of the whole class. After going out, the expected storm did not come, but stared at Zhang Chen for a long time. Zhang Chen, next time you do something brave like this, please give me a call. Although I am usually strict with you, I still encourage you to do this kind of thing. Of course, you must take care of your health, said the head teacher kindly. Zhang Chen was shocked. This old witch could be so gentle at times. However, he was also a little confused. How come he didn't know what it meant to be a brave and righteous person? Seeing Zhang Chen's expression, the head teacher smiled and said, "The principal told me everything. Now, go back and review your lessons. Ask your teachers and classmates about the lessons you missed." Zhang Chen didn't figure out what was going on until he walked into the classroom. How was he related to the principal again? The classmates were a little disappointed when they saw Zhang Chen walk in as if nothing had happened, especially Sun Nan and the others, who all looked at Zhang Chen with resentment on their faces, as if Zhang Chen had done something to them. Zhang Chen glared at them fiercely, scaring them so much that they quickly retracted their gazes. What a joke! Even Bai Zhanfei was kicked away, let alone them. Su Ziqiang didn't talk to Zhang Chen the whole morning. She practiced the concentration technique secretly for a while, but there was no progress. Remembering that she hadn't seen Jing Shuang for a long time, after school at noon, she went straight to Jing Shuang's office. She regretted very much that she forgot to leave Jing Shuang's phone number. She would definitely ask for her phone number when she saw her again. But when she walked into the office, she found it empty. Did she go to eat? But she didn't usually go to the cafeteria so early. Zhang Chen shamelessly asked the teacher next door and found out that Jing Shuang had been on leave for several days. No wonder Zhang Han didn't come today. At the same time, he was also a little curious about what happened to Jing Shuang. Jing Shuang is Zhang Chen's destined person, so he is even more anxious now, but he doesn't know where Jing Shuang lives. He began to think about it, and suddenly he thought of Fang Qing. They are both teachers in the school, so she should be familiar with him. He dialed Fang Qing's cell phone number without hesitation. Soon, a pleasant voice came, and Zhang Chen hurriedly asked about Jing Shuang, but was scolded by teacher Fang Qing, probably for not studying hard or something. In the end, she even brought up the topic of forgetting friends for the sake of beauty, which made Zhang Chen feel ashamed. But the reward was not small. He unexpectedly learned that Fang Qing and Jing Shuang were schoolmates and close friends. When he learned that Fang Qing was going to visit Jing Shuang, Zhang Chen immediately rushed to Fang Qing's dormitory and asked for leave from the class teacher, saying that his injury from his heroic act had not healed and he had to go to the hospital for a follow-up examination. As a result, the head teacher happily agreed. This was definitely the easiest time for him to ask for leave. When they arrived in front of Fang Qing's dormitory building, she was already waiting downstairs. She waved to Zhang Chen when she saw him. She was dressed a little more fashionably today, with stockings, small leather shoes, a black miniskirt, an exquisite coat on her upper body and a small bag on her shoulder, which made Zhang Chen stunned instantly. Fang Qing waved her hand around his eyes, glared at him, then turned and left. Zhang Chen hurriedly followed. The two of them looked more like a couple than a teacher and student. After walking out of the school gate, Zhang Chen was still wondering which bus to take. Unexpectedly, Fang Qing took him directly into the parking lot and stopped in front of a BMW. Zhang Chen's eyes widened. He didn't expect that he had been wrong before. He thought Fang Qing was not good, but he didn't expect that she could even drive a BMW. Could it be? Fang Qing saw Zhang Chen's strange look and seemed to guess what he was thinking. She glared at him fiercely and said, "Why don't you get in the car? What are you looking at? This is the money I made from stock trading. What are you thinking?" Zhang Chen breathed a sigh of relief. He knew Fang Qing would not lie. If she was really being kept by someone, he would still be very sad. When he got into the BMW, a faint fragrance came, which felt very comfortable in his nose. He subconsciously leaned towards Fang Qing. Fang Qing glanced at him without saying a word, and started the car and drove out. Zhang Chen then remembered Jing Shuang's matter and hurriedly asked Fang Qing what happened in Jing Shuang's family. The answer he got made Zhang Chen even more worried. Jing Shuang's father fell ill. Zhang Chen exhaled, and began to read the medical memories left to him by his master. After entering the second level of the concentration technique, it became much easier to read these memories. Although he did not understand some of the memories, they were still transformed into his own memories.